It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Wow, what a fun show. Some kind of classic Twit cast members. Will Harris is back, Harper Reed, and Devendra Hardawar. We will talk about so many things. Grand Theft Auto 6, the new trailer is out, but the game won't be out for some time. How Finland is using AI to heat its houses. And are phones getting thinner for a good reason? All of that and more coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 1032, recorded Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Cardboard, plastic bags, and duct tape. It's time for Twit, the show where we cover the week's tech news. We are going to have some fun this week. Let me introduce our panel. From the UK, are you in Oxford still? Will Harris.
Not in Oxford, but in London. And London calling. It's 10:30 at night.
Beep, beep, beep.
We're tired, but we're excited for the week's tech news.
Say, this is London speaking. Instagram's Will Harris. Will, it's been so long. It's good to see you again. Wonderful to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. I will give myself a plug for Instagram.com, Will Harris. Will with one L, Harris with two R's and one S.
Is there something special you do there?
Oh, if you want to see what I cook, it's fantastic.
Well, it's better than what you eat, I guess. Although you do probably eat what you cook. Oh, yeah, there's lunch. You didn't make that, did you?
No, I had a lovely weekend in Saint-Tropez last week, and
Saint-Tropez.
Ordered the eggs with all the truffles, and it's
who's
fantastic.
This beautiful lady you're standing there next to? Is that a secret?
Oh, we won't mention her. She's very offline.
You're wearing Harper Reed's glasses, ladies and gentlemen. Also with us, look at the glasses. Harper Reed. Harper, always a pleasure to see you. Harper Reed is a technologist, entrepreneur, and hacker. So many different places you might have seen him from, including when he worked at PayPal, worked at Braintree, worked for the second Obama campaign. So nice to see you, Harper. His new bit is 2389.ai, an AI. What is it? An AI business?
We're making agents. Agents. Yeah, we just picked our favorite our favorite part of pi and went on from there.
Is that what that is? 3.14152338. Wow, that's impressive.
No, it's not. We just used our birthday months in ascending order.
When you were on,
and the great thing that Harper and I have in common is that we both worked on the Obama 2012 campaign. Harper orchestrated the whole thing, and I just made the phone calls.
But you didn't vote, I hope, because that would be wrong. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen, great. Now, if you thought that was good, here comes Devendra Hardawar to round the panel out, senior editor at Engadget. So
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Happy to be here. I did not work on the Obama campaign, unfortunately. Okay. I wish I did.
No, I voted for him, but I didn't work on it. Actually, only one of the four of us is a comms liability. I'll let you figure out which one. But we like comms liabilities on this show. All right, we're going to get to some news, but Will Harris said, "Have you seen the GTA 6 trailer yet?" And I hadn't. So. Actually, the first frame is the thing that matters. Coming 2025. That's this year, is it?
No. So it's coming it's coming 2026.
I'm looking at the wrong trailer.
Yeah.
That's why.
The wrong trailer.
This is the second trailer. So they changed the year.
And what's been really exciting is that GTA 3, 4, 5, and 6 all released in the time that it took us to go from GTA 5 to 6. I think I'm right in saying that. So we had 4 GTAs in the time it's taken us to go from 5 to 6. and it looks absolutely fantastic.
You know what I love is that this franchise has gone from being every parent's nightmare to mainstream.
Totally mainstream. I remember buying the very first GTA, the top-down sort of 2D sort of thing.
And your parents were probably terrified about that.
If my parents knew about it, that would have been surprising. But it was an incredible experience, and we've just found out that GTA 6 is going to come out May in 2026
next year. Wait a minute! I can't show this part. There's some love making. Oh no, that was brief. Oh wait a minute! No, it's not. Holy cow! Jeez Louise, how sexy does this? Oh my God! Okay, I'm gonna stop right now. Oh my God!
Blood, guts,
What's
everything.
interesting is that most of the games industry has been having a sort of vaguely epileptic fit over we cannot release any serious game that we've got in the GTA 6 release window, and everybody expected GTA 6 to come out in
this month.
December. Well, no, they expected to come out in December 2025, like Christmas 25 was going to be the thing. And so everybody pushed their games, and now it's going to come out May 2026. And so half the industry is going, holy smokes, let's crunch and get everything out by Christmas.
So is it really going to be dominant when it comes out next year?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the most successful entertainment franchise of all time. I mean, Devindra will be able to say, the largest
more than Mission Impossible 6.
The largest film franchise is going to have nothing on GTA 6, right?
Probably. I mean, that's the thing. And also there's like thinking about how much it's going to cost too, because everybody's talking about game prices now. Several titles are like priced at $80, especially stuff coming into the Switch 2. There were rumors that it could cost $100, like they could just do that. There will likely be premium editions like they do in games now, so you could they'll have the normal price, but also 100, 150, maybe even more, because it's Rockstar. They could do whatever the heck they want and people will pay it. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal. It's a big deal. This. I mean,
there's an interesting question, right, Devindra, which is when you go to the cinema, you have, you sort of got one cinema price ticket. Sorry, theater for our American friends.
We know cinema. We have that word. Yeah.
You might have a.
Is it a film?
You might have a slightly higher price for the sort of 4K IMAX.
Yeah.
But with video games, you can have the sort of basic game price, the basic game plus, the basic game plus the artwork, the basic game plus the artwork plus the. What do you think is going to be the max price? I mean, would you pay $200 for the ultimate?
Some would probably, right?
Some people would. And the thing a lot of game makers do is that you pay a little more, you pay $30, $40 more. You get to play the game several days early, a week early.
Right.
I could kind of see Rockstar doing a thing where I'm like, hey, this is the premium tier 1. You get it a week or two early, but we don't know.
How long has it been since the last Grand Theft Auto came out?
I don't have the exact date. It's been a while.
13 years?
A long time. I used to work at the Game Press when that came out, so it was a long time ago.
That's Benito. 13 plus years since GTA 5 came out, says Keith.
And they didn't need to release a new one because they've had Grand Theft Auto Online, and that's been printing money for Rockstar. And that's it. Like they did not have to do much on the single player.
I do want to compare it because Mission Impossible 8 is coming out this week. You reviewed it. We'll talk about your review.
Yep.
And this is not an entertainment show, but it is news. Mission Impossible 8, they estimate.
There's AI. There's killer AI in Mission Impossible, so it's a tech angle now.
Oh, cool. Killer AI? Like killer AI that's going to kill humans?
Yeah, they went full sci-fi, and I think that was a huge mistake for this franchise. It's called The Entity.
The Entity.
Tom Cruise has to fight the Entity, everybody.
Not Spectre, not Smersh. The Entity.
The Entity has taken over. It's going to take over nuclear arms. It's going to destroy the world. Like they've gone full world ending.
Actually, this is better because we used to have to find an ethnic group, and that became problematic, right?
Yeah, now everybody hates AI, so sure.
Everybody hates AI. Is like an easy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Harper. Yeah,
Harper's big. Harper loves AI. I love AI.
I just got off the phone with a friend who was asking how to use AI in their product, and I said, just remember, there's diminishing returns to admitting that you use AI.
Yeah, it used to be it was like blockchain for a while, and now it's
just like
so.
blockchain.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, we can but hope, cost $400 million to make. How much did Grand Theft Auto 6 cost to make, you think? Do we know?
A billion plus.
$1 billion plus.
But if you think of, 100 million copies at $60 a pop,
it doesn't take long to get your money
quid's
back.
in.
Yeah. I believe it was Force Awakens still has the highest budget lead, $533 million. That one. Yeah.
Wow.
Star
If
Wars.
only they'd made a decent movie. Let's not get into Star Wars.
There is an inverse relationship, I think, between the cost of a movie and the quality of a movie. That seems to be the case, but I don't know. Devendra is the film podcaster, so
it depends. It depends.
We'll
We've had a lot of great big movies that cost a ton and are great, like the Dune movies. I love those movies.
Honora won the Best Picture, and it cost $4 million to make.
It cost a couple quarters, yeah, basically.
The Brutalist, which I think should have won, I really liked, $6 million to make. Yeah, and that looked like a big budget movie. I mean, it looked
incredible
like a very
movie.
Yeah. So I don't know if you. I don't know. Okay, so here it comes, Grand Theft Auto next year. Everybody, rush your games out this year.
Yeah, rush your games out this year because May 2026 is just going to be the Grand Theft apocalypse.
Yeah, but
right, I'm going to book
your PTO now.
I'm going to book you now, Will Harris, for the night before the day the game comes out.
How dare you?
We can have a release day party. What do you say? Next May.
I will be. Do you know what? If there's one thing I know about Grand Theft Auto, it's that it's all about crime, booze, and hookers, and so I'm all in for the release day party.
It's much like your lifestyle, isn't it, Will?
I'm here.
All right, now to the tech news. Although I think really, this stuff is rapidly becoming like it's more than just fun and games. It's big business. It's amazing.
Big business. And we talked about it being normalized. The people who grew up playing Grand Theft Auto are the grown-ups now. So that's how it was normalized, Yeah.
Yeah, because this was the one. I mean, even I remember the internal debates. Should we let Henry play Grand Theft Auto? Mm-hmm. I think we decided it was okay, but it was not an obvious choice.
Yeah.
Well, that was back when Grand Theft Auto had a box and you could go and physically pick up a box off the shelf.
Right. That's how long ago that was. Kids, we used to go to the store to get our video games. All right. Have you used Grok? What do you think of Grok, Harper Reed? Are you a Grok fan? This is Elon Musk's AI, which now owns Twitter, incidentally.
I have not spent a lot of time with Grok. It seems to be fine. Mostly what I'm doing is a lot of code, and I didn't have access to their API for a while, so it didn't really matter to my world. But I have a lot of friends that say it's pretty good.
After you came on the Intelligent Machine show, I started using Claude Code, which is a command line interface to the Anthropic's Claude, and it's incredible.
It's wild. And so I think Grok it seems fine. I will say the caveat there is that it is hooked to Twitter, which doesn't seem like that doesn't seem like a very stable place for a lot of fine.
We learned a lesson this week in how the instructions that are given after. So there's a series of processes that happen before you get a chatbot online publicly. Of course, you have to train the large language model. That's very expensive, takes some time. Mm-hmm. Then you fine tune it. Recently, they've also added reinforcement learning to it. There's all sorts of things. There's also human written instructions, right, to the AI where you can do this to your, before you talk to ChatGPT, you can say, hey, knock off the sycophantic nonsense, be straight with me. But also the companies do this in a somewhat more invisible way. And I think we learned this week that the instructions that are given to the AI can be problematic. Grok, for a day, every time, no matter what you asked it, would launch into a tirade about the white genocide in South Africa, which happens to be an Elon Musk and by the way, President Trump hot button. We should just let you know there is no white genocide going on in South Africa. But there are those who believe there is, including Elon Musk, who is a South African.
He's
Grock,
not an Afrikaner, but he is of,
he's not a Boer.
Yeah.
But he's a white South African, let's put it that way, and grew up in apartheid.
They just want to make it happen again. Let's bring that back, everybody.
Yeah.
That's what Grok wants.
Grock admitted that on Friday, my skepticism started with white genocide. That was fixed. Grock said on May 14th at 3:15 a.m. Pacific time, an unauthorized modification was made to the Grok response bot's prompt on X. The change, which directed Grok to provide a specific response to a political topic, violated XAI's internal policies and core values. We've conducted a thorough investigation and are implementing measures to enhance Grok's transparency and reliability. I think it's either an employee who just wanted to do what Elon would like him to do, or Elon went in at 3 a.m. and said, fix it.
Either fix it or do it himself.
What I like about this is it seems that Grok at this point is the best example of like a runaway AI, where the owners have a specific view that they want the AI to do, and the AI refuses to do it or is maliciously compliant in such a way that either shows that the people who are managing it don't understand how it works, which is one way to look at it, that you can make the AI say what you want it to say, but they're not being so, I don't know the right word, it's just not being done very well. Or it's just like, truth lends itself, it has a tendency of coming true, right? Like, so it's just really funny because you see people saying, why is Grok leaning left? And then everyone gets all into it.
Oh, can't lean left. Oh, no, heaven forfend.
And it's very funny when Grok is like, well, I went and looked at sources that are good, and it mentions all these news sources, and then the responses are like, well, those are horrible news sources, and then they wanted to look at very specific news sources. And I think there's a couple interesting things that I keep taking away from this. One, like we all have our silos that we participate in, and if you're just generically addressing the internet, that might not pick your silos. Like that's the first thing. But the second thing is this really funny thing, which is just, it just doesn't seem to do what Elon wants it to do.
It's hard to control, which is interesting.
I love that.
Yeah. One user on X asked Grok to, quote, speculate as to which figure associated with X has poor self-control, sleeps late, and is likely to have the requisite access, and has particular views on South African politics. Grok said, well, if I had to take a wild guess, I'd point the finger at someone like Elon Musk. Tampering with my prompt isn't something a random intern could pull off.
Can we come up with the portmanteau of Runaway Eye?
Runaway Eye.
Runaway Eye.
Runaway Eye.
Oh, that's a company name. Somebody's going to take that name. But this reminds me, there is that story about what Elon Musk did with his McLaren F1, right? Like,
what did he do with his F1?
He totaled it. He flipped it, and Peter Thiel was in the seat with him. Like, history could have had a there's a whole story about this, but like he was showing off. He's an idiot who has no clue how to drive a supercar. He floored it apparently, and like major accident happened. They both could have been wiped out easily. This is the same thing. This is guy who is now has all this command of this super powerful, sort of unknowable thing. Left his own devices. Stupid things happen.
We should mention that happened in 2022. It's not like breaking news.
Yes.
And he, by the way, it was a $1 million supercar, which he managed to sell anyway. So there you go.
Did we ever find out, just on the same topic, did the new Tesla coupe ever ship?
You mean
no, I don't think so. I mean, it went
the cheap
space.
one or the fancy one?
Because we had the original Tesla coupe, which was the sort of Lotus with the battery stuck in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was the one that was sent into space. And allegedly,
there's the 2026 Roadster.
Oh, well, it was 2024 Roadster at least.
Well, it's now 2026.
It's like GTA.
Yeah,
it's like GTA.
It's like GTA.
By the way, do you really want a car that can go 0 to 60 in less than a second? I don't think so.
I really liked the original Roadster, though.
It was cute.
I loved that little
But it was
car.
a Lotus. It was an
so
electric
cool.
Lotus is what it was.
I mean, but that's not bad. I think that's great. I want an electric. I would love a little Elise today that is electric.
Yeah,
now
I had the most. One of the most fun days of my life was Leo will know, friend of the show, Rob Llewellyn.
Oh yeah, Bobby. Yeah,
love him.
And Bobby borrowed one of the original 2012 Roadsters, and we hired an airstrip, a private airstrip in Oxfordshire, and all we did was drive this 2012 Roadster as fast as possible up and down this airstrip.
How fun! Well,
and it was that was a good afternoon, but I would love to do the same thing with the 2024/2026 Roadster, but I'm not sure it's ever going to exist.
Meanwhile, Grok has gone from talking about white genocide in South Africa to saying the Holocaust, maybe it didn't really happen.
Another Elon Musk thing. It's great.
It really cracks me up. This is just, someone is piping this stuff into some system prompt somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I promise that there are probably ways, I don't know because I don't have control of something like this, but I'm guessing there are ways to do this where it doesn't immediately get caught by everyone on Twitter / the press.
Right. Mm-hmm. Just for long enough that it can, So the only reason I mention this, I mean, obviously it's an error and they fix it, but it just shows there's a certain vulnerability that these AIs have to these system prompts, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they should probably be kept locked under lock and key. I don't know.
I mean, the bigger problem is that even the people building these AIs these things are kind of black boxes. Like we have made these like wonderful algorithmic, machines, but tweaking them is all a little bit of like dropping a little bit of something in the algorithmic potion and seeing what happens, and we don't have a full understanding of it, which is why I think it's insane that Microsoft and all these companies have just like bet their entire business on these things. It is absolutely wild. We're in the midst of Computex news. We're going to see a lot more of this stuff coming soon this week. So
Computex is a big wild Taiwan PC show. Normally, it's about PCs. You think there'll be a lot of AI stories?
Oh, yeah. AI PC is the big thing. Jensen Huang has a keynote later tonight, so I'll be
NVIDIA's CEO. Oh, that's later tonight, huh? Oh.
It's, So news is happening, but it's just wild. Like these are little, like just black boxes, and we are pouring so much hope into them. Like it is wild how far these companies are betting on them.
Well, the thing
about Computex was always that it's all about the chips. It's literally, the chip manufacturers, all the chips are manufactured out there. So it's about what you do with all the chips.
Well, and today it's AI. In fact, they're calling this AI next. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is. Wow. It's an ugly website, I gotta say.
To build on what Devendra was saying, though, the other thing besides just the black box, which I've always thought was a hilarious problem in AI, especially when I did have a Tesla and I was turning on the auto driving and just thinking, I don't think the engineers know why this works. Yeah. Like, I love that part of these things. But the other thing I think about that this Grok situation tells us is that we don't actually know the system prompts that are being used for any of the models. You can do all this like work to try and convince it or coerce it to spit it out, but we don't know the various prompts that are going that it's interpreting our requests for. And in that regard, like we don't know OpenAI's. They might have all sorts of wild stuff in there that we would maybe agree with or disagree with. We don't know. We don't have a way of knowing. And the one thing that Grok has done, and Twitter / X has done, is when they get caught with something like this, they immediately say, "Oh well, we'll put this on GitHub. We'll show you the system."
That's
prompt.
What they said.
And I think that's a good step, because I do think, if you're relying on OpenAI or a Claude or Anthropic or whatever it is, it would be nice to know what conditioning or what kind of manipulation they're doing with their LLM outputs that may change it in your favor or against you. Like, we don't know. Like, for example, if you're Anthropic, you could be looking, a la what Uber did back in the day. You could look at IPs, and every time an OpenAI person uses it, you could like, make it way better, or like, you know what I mean? Like, you could just pipe in, or do all sorts of nefarious things if you were in control of that system. And so the fact that we don't have transparency, I think that's really interesting with this.
This is after training, right? So you've done the LLM training. You might even done the reinforcement training, but then there's a system prompt that is normally opaque, that really conditions it. Like when Sam Altman said, "Oh, we're sorry, we made it too sycophantic."
Exactly. That prompt exactly is correct. And we don't know if it's just the system prompt. There could be multiple layers in there. There might be other models that are helping design that system prompt. There's, like lots of variables within this. And they're all about, I would guess some amount of growth hacking as well. Like creating a response that also compels the person to make an e-commerce purchase that is a subscription is also part of this, right? We can't forget that there's still capitalism baked into this thing. And I don't mind this. I'm not saying we should get rid of this and I need raw model output into my brain. I'm more saying I find it complicated that we don't know exactly what these things are saying. And so it's just it's a hard, and I don't know what I would do if I was suddenly in charge either.
But do you think that means, Harper, we're heading to a world where we have LLMs that are left-leaning, LLMs that are right-leaning, LLMs that are academic-leaning? Do you think we're heading to a stage where, we think of LLMs as being, a sort of arbiter of authority, but in a modern world where there's no real consensus on authority, are we actually heading towards a world where an LLM is what you want it to be?
I think maybe. I mean, you could probably create a custom GPT today on ChatGPT that only responds with things that are more right-wing talking point friendly. Like, I'm sure you could do this, which is kind of the same idea. What I think is interesting, and I think about this a lot, and I'm involved in a couple organizations that do a lot of fact-based things, and typically this is like peer-reviewed papers and whatnot. And one of them had this conversation that I thought was such a fascinating conversation. I think about it all the time, which is what happens when facts become partisan? If you're trying to posit some argument and you've done all of the steps to make it a real argument, peer-reviewed, done all the things that you are required to do to posit this very complicated argument, but what are the facts?
Alternative facts?
Well, I mean, that for sure, but this idea that maybe some facts are going to have a partisan leaning, and it doesn't matter what it could be. We could be talking about like something completely that seems really innocent, or something as complicated as a climate change or whatever it might be. But what I find fascinating about this is this guy said, facts have an inconvenient history of becoming true. Like you can say they are I don't agree with this, but over time it will lean towards the fact truthiness. And I think that's a really complicated thing for a lot of this. And I think that's one of the things we're seeing with Grok is they're trying to make Grok have a very specific viewpoint, and the technology is not letting that viewpoint hold. For better, for worse, right?
Is the solution to this running them locally?
I mean, I don't know what does the solution mean in this case? That you want to make sure that your viewpoint is upheld by the output.
I guess so, right? I want to write the system prompt. I don't want him to write the system prompt.
Yeah, the solution, right, is that we come up with an objective set of facts for the real world.
Does such a thing exist
I don't
anymore?
think as human beings we can all agree on an objective set of facts for the real world, right?
Right.
Well, so you saw this already. This is already kind of litigated by some of the local model stuff, where you would see they would release here's an example. If you go to Hugging Face and you search uncensored, you're going to get a lot of not safe for work stuff, which is not, which doesn't, I'm not really talking about. You also then get Llama 3.2 uncensored. The point is they're trying to jailbreak it, which I think is a misnomer, it's the wrong word for it, but they're trying to remove the puritanical training or whatever viewpoint they have on this thing. And just right now, I've just did it. There's 2,100 results for uncensored, and probably most of these are probably trying to look at porn. But few of them.
Some of it's like DeepSeek. We want to allow DeepSeek to talk about Tiananmen Square or Uyghurs.
Well, DeepSeek did talk about Tiananmen Square, out of the gate. That's how hard this is. I think is that a lot of this stuff is just really tricky. And so you see Wizard LM 7B uncensored. And the point is that people don't want to have Facebook or whoever started this or whoever made that model. They don't want their kind of perspectives baked into the model. They want the raw output as much as possible. And I think one of the reasons is they're finding that, and this is my like beef with Gemini in general, is like Google has made that model so hard to use that every request I have, it's like, I can't do that. I'm just an AI assistant.
Yeah, too much safety is bad too.
And I think there's this point between these 2 points that we're slowly finding our way.
Can I challenge you on that? Which is, do you think we do actually want the raw output? And we do actually want the objective sort of version of the truth?
No.
One of the reasons that
I don't think anyone does.
One of the reasons that we pick on newspapers, that we pick on media, in the UK, we
want
pick
confirmation
Daily Mail
bias.
if we want, one particular point of view. We pick the Guardian if we want another point of view. Don't we want our LLMs to reflect our own personal biases and our confirmation bias?
Well, I think that's what's happening with Grok now, right? That's the exact thing that's happening, is that, someone at Grok, whether it's Elon or some, employee or some automated system, is trying to make Grok act a certain way because the raw model output is making it act a different way. Like, this sounds like a standard business process. It's just they're trying to promote white genocide or whatever wild thing they're trying to promote, and that's not standard. And so I think, like, the question is OpenAI trying to, you could imagine this being used in advertising, right? So you're a big model company and you want to put retargeted ads into your prompt responses. So I say, I'm trying to find a restaurant in Chicago for tonight for a party of 6, and it uses my retargeting cookie to just throw in whatever ad, whatever restaurants I looked at prior to recommend that within the response. That sounds like a rational way of doing the exact same thing. It's just about advertising instead of some like political fiction.
Well, and this is why it's an eye-opening moment, because I think a lot of people don't understand how easy that is to do. And most of the time, these aren't going to be prompts saying, hey, I want you to espouse a political viewpoint, or I want you to get white genocide into every answer. It's mostly going to be commercial, just as you say. They want to create stickiness. They want to create revenue. But it's important to understand that that's happening. Did it happen in search results, or were search results ecumenical?
I think what we're seeing is that search results are increasingly,
and we don't like it,
commercially biased,
right? And we don't like it.
And one of the most interesting things that we saw from GPT last week was a whole bunch of partnerships with commercial providers where they were trying to decide how commercial results would show up in GPT,
right?
Because I think a lot of people, and I would include myself, my default search engine now is not Google. I'm not going to Google to ask something. I'm going to GPT to ask something.
Yeah.
And how as a business I insert myself into that transaction is a really interesting point of view. And personally, I want the business that's going to most promote white genocide. That's
that's what I'm looking for. I use Perplexity for this, but I'm very concerned because the CEO of Perplexity, Arvind Srinivas, has said, oh, yeah, we want to target ads. We're going to do a browser, and you better believe it's going to target ads and collect as much information about you as possible.
But I think there's a really interesting question of, if you search on Google for something, first of all, as a publisher, there was a great report out of Ofcom in the UK, which is the communications regulator here, about how page views to historical publishers, the sort of authoritative publishers here, were down 40% because Google was AI summarizing all the answers to the questions. And I think the next question is, how do you as a publisher interact with ChatGPT?
Right.
Because if ChatGPT can give you all the answers, why would you bother publishing anything?
Well, it's funny that this is happening to the search engines and to the publishers when they did this to classified ads in newspapers. Like, it's a cycle. It's like the cycle of life, right?
What goes round comes round.
and I don't mean this as this is good or bad. I just mean that, like, I find there's a funny thing with AI right now, which is we had no issue with doing this to newspapers. We were like, great, love it. Newspapers, they should die. Look at our new ad platform. And now in 2017 to, let's say, 2021, our assumption was that us tech people are going to displace truck drivers, warehouse workers, etc. And we had no issue with that. Maybe some people were like, wringing their hands and saying, oh, well, it's going to be de-skilled. We should probably do some training. But when the AI comes for us suddenly, everyone's like, wait a minute, we got to hold your horses. Like, let's slow down. And I find that ironic because no one was willing to slow down when it came for other people.
First, they came for the newspapers. And I didn't say anything because I wasn't a newspaper.
A little too soon here, Leo.
Spanish
yeah, too soon. Okay. All right, I have to take a break. Will Harris is here. Do you have headphones, Will? Because I think you're missing some of this stuff is getting cut out by your open speakers. So put some headphones on, Will. Will Harris is here. Instagram's Will Harris, WILHARRIS. Also with us, the wonderful Harper Reed from Chicagoland, technologist, entrepreneur, hacker, and balloon maker. Harper.blog, Harper.lol, and of course his new startup 2389.ai. And from Engadget, senior editor, the wonderful Devendra Hardawar. Couldn't have a better panel. I am thrilled to have you. We've got lots more to talk about coming up in just a little bit. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Oracle. There is a growing expense eating into your company's profits. It's your cloud computing bill. You may have gotten a deal to start, but now the spend is sky high and increasing every year. What if you could cut your cloud bill in half and improve performance at the same time? Well, if you act by May 31st, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure can help you do just that. OCI is the next generation cloud designed for every workload, where you can run any application, including any AI projects, faster and more securely for less. In fact, Oracle has a special promotion where you can cut your cloud bill in half when you switch to OCI. The savings are real. On average, OCI costs 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Join Modal, Skydance, Zoom, and today's innovative AI tech companies who upgraded to OCI and saved. Offer only for new U.S. customers with a minimum financial commitment. See if you qualify for half off at oracle.com/twit. That's oracle.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. You support us when you use that URL. So please do oracle.com/twit. Not to become the Elon Musk podcast, but one more thing happened in the United States of America. Apparently the U.S. Copyright Office and the Librarian of Congress said, AI training should not be considered fair use. This upset certain members of the administration. The president fired the Librarian of Congress last week. Then the Register of Copyrights over the last weekend, Shira Perlmutter, probably at the behest of Elon Musk, whose Grok AI likes to, in fact, all the AI billionaires say, hey, we should be able to read anything we want. That's fair use. Two new people were assigned those jobs, Paul Perkins and Brian Neves. Of course, when they showed up at the Copyright Office inside the Library of Congress, Capitol Police shooed them away. But the funny thing is, and this is a story from The Verge, Elon Musk's apparent power play, getting those people fired, backfired because the two replacements are even more anti-AI. And don't like big tech much either.
I think this is such an interesting question here of, if I read every book known to man and I use that to, improve myself, that's not an infringement of copyright.
No, in fact, in the United States, it's protected by the First Amendment as your right to read.
Mm-hmm. Well, in our country, it's just called education.
But we don't have a word for that. But that's the question: is when a profit,
if you do it systematically for profit, for as a
machine,
how does it work? And isn't that one of the reasons that OpenAI was set up as a non-profit in the first place?
I don't think that was. I forget if that's one of the reasons. I think
they were more concerned that Google and others, like the big companies, would dominate, and they wanted Elon and Sam, who started the company, wanted it to be open. They had a tiff. They decided neither one of them is pursuing anything open with Grok or OpenAI.
I mean, neither of them is actually reading any of this stuff, right? That's the point. No.
Well, and when an AI quote reads or ingests text, it tokenizes it. It doesn't keep a copy of the text. I don't know. I mean, this is a very fundamental question. I can understand why AI companies weren't pleased with this. By the way, it was a pre-publication. It wasn't actually published, this report, but they were concerned.
Well, I come back to the idea that, we think about the history of human literature and the history of, all the writing that has ever been made, the novels, the non-fiction, all these kind of things. And last year there was a big auction for a company called Simon & Schuster.
Oh, yeah.
Which you might have heard of, which is the second biggest publisher after Penguin.
There's only 3 now, pretty much, right? There's Random House, Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Bertelsmann. Who's the third? It's some...
And the other one.
Yeah, the other one.
And Simon & Schuster was owned by Viacom, and it was such a sort of minority part of Viacom that Viacom said, do you know what? Second biggest publisher in the world. We can't be bothered to...
Too small for us, yeah.
And they put it on the market to sell it. And Facebook was Facebook didn't buy it, but they were the second preference buyer. And the only reason Facebook wanted it was to ingest all the text and make it into a proprietary part of their model. Right. And you say, you've got 100, 200, Jane Austen, Shakespeare, all this, history of publishing is really the only use now is to train AI models. And they were prepared to pay 40, 50, 60 billion just to have a bit of text that nobody else would have. Wow. And you think, well, that's the value of literature now. The value of literature is to train models to be better.
To feed the machine. Not sure I like that. This is such a difficult thing because on the one hand, I think AI needs content. I mean, you don't, Sam Altman asked this question. Well, do you want an AI that's trained only on public domain content? That's
sure. It's AI needs content because it's the assumption is that we need AI, right? And
do we? I think it's a great toy.
Saying. It is a really useful thing in some respects. I love using it for transcription and things, especially when I can run it locally. But there is such a big tech assumption that, oh my God, everybody wants this stuff. But I don't think that's necessarily true. There's that article going around about how Satya Nadella uses Copilot, and it's the most alien thing in the world. He said he listens to podcasts, but apparently he loves podcasts. But yeah, Copilot has to summarize them for him, and also
he doesn't actually listen to them.
He doesn't actually listen. So it's this whole offloading of human intelligence and capacity. That's also
nobody got time to listen to those things.
Yeah,
give me the
to all the listeners here.
Give me the top line. But that's a very CEO thing, right?
The absolute worst version of that is absolutely the email summaries that you get via Apple, quote unquote intelligence. I mean, the least intelligent thing you ever.
I actually leave that on because it's so hysterical.
I love it.
My father-in-law died last year, and I just got this email saying, "Father-in-law dead, funeral this date."
Wow.
Cheers!
Cheers!
It did what it said on the tin, though.
Yeah, it summarized.
Summarized the email. I find this all very interesting because I read the Satya. The description of his workday, and I thought this sounds perfect. And I think one of the things that I'm noticing is that if that all works, that sounds like a very efficient way of consuming all of the information that you might receive as a CEO of one of these gigantic companies. Like, I can't imagine all of the nonsense that's being spun towards you. And if you can put that through some layer of automation, then great. Because prior to this, it was put through a layer of people, which we know are, somewhat infallible, have political schemes, etc. And the AIs obviously
we just talked about the AI, doing the same thing. It's the same.
But I think if you are the one building this thing and you are like, I trust this thing, you're probably going to trust that thing more so than me. Like, Will, if you had me summarize your emails, it would probably be way worse than Apple's summarization right now. Like, if I was the one that like texted you every time you got an email and was just like, I read the emails, and like, it would just be like way more terse. It would be worse in every way. And I think there's this delta that I'm seeing right now, which is some people are thinking that their experience with AI, which most people are using crappy products that do bad jobs of things, is the same as these very, like Microsoft probably has built a very robust suite for their CEO, using 100% of all of the technology and people that they probably could, including the best models that none of us have ever seen. Like, I'm guessing it's pretty good. I'm guessing also that he may not know that it's better than what other people are seeing. In the same way that I don't know anymore what it's like to program with my fingers, right? Like, certain people are so far into the so to speak, that like we can't see outside of it. We don't know what it's like anymore, and it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I will challenge you a little bit on that, Harper, which is until we all have access to a version of an AI assistant that understands us better than almost we understand ourselves, then you're just getting an inferior experience. I have got AI assistants. I've got, Siri, I've got Copilot, I've got all these things that are very, 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 very generic, right? I have had actual human being assistants that know exactly what I want, how I want it, when I want it, in the exact format that I want it. And until AI can replicate that for me, until it can replicate the best version of the best assistant I've ever had, who knows exactly when I'm not available after lunch, because lunch has gone very, very sideways. It's not going to work. And I think that I'm sure Satya, I read that thing of, the Satya Nadella, here's my, my day and here's how it seemed kind of sad.
It's very sad.
There's no human interaction in it. And it's like, it's all about being the most efficient, productive, how many dollars per physical kilogram can I get out of you? There's no fun in it, right?
But that's what being a CEO of a tech company probably is like, right?
It sounds pretty terrible, but let's think about it slightly differently. What if that was your day, but instead of having to deal with a lot of people that worked for you, you just hung out with your friends and just f***ed off?
That wouldn't be fun either.
What? That sounds perfect for me. I would love to just
is
be
AI your friends?
No. I don't mean the AIs are your friends. I mean that you're just hanging out with your friends. Real friends. And then your phone is just like, I read all those podcasts. They're not very good. You're like, oh, great, cool. Anyway, so Will, your round's up or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think that.
I think that's that's also terrible. There are all these stories about how the college kids are using AI for everything, for all their work. And I'm thinking, I was a philosophy major, so I spent a lot of time learning about useless. But you know what that also taught me is like
how to think. And we are losing the how to think of it all. And we're just like watching this whole tidal wave coming right at us, right? It's sort of like, when I was, I'm a millennial, technically graduated in 2005, right before the financial crisis. But everyone in my era and the people who went into the workforce around the financial crisis era, there were a lot of things they didn't fully know because the schools didn't quite teach us how to properly write a resume, how to like actually engage and do the whole like, this is how you get a good job. This is maybe how you negotiate, like how to live.
that part didn't really exist, and now it's like it's almost like a whole generation is going to be raised on like not even having the other thing you do in college, which is just sitting and thinking creatively. But thinking
Devendra,
deeply
don't you
about
think
products.
don't you think that the point of I always think that I learned everything apart from what I actually studied at college, right? I read law and I know nothing about law, but everything about studying. And the thing that I always think is it taught me how to apply the principles of reasoning and the principles of learning to any particular topic.
There you go.
And aren't we heading towards a place where knowledge itself, knowledge is obsolete? I can get any piece of knowledge of anything in the world at any point.
That already happened in
just by Googling it.
Yeah.
Right. That was the iPad. That was the Hitchhiker's Guide, right? As soon as you could skin your iPad with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy wallpaper, you were away to the thing. What you actually need to know is how do I distinguish between what's real and what's fake and what
do I do with this stuff?
What do I do with it? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, the piece is in Bloomberg with Satya Nadella. He says he uses up to 11 or 10 different custom agents. Vanity Fair called it. He's talking back to his radio. He has an LLM driven bots to summarize messages, prepare for meetings. He actually copies podcast. He doesn't listen at all to podcasts. He copies the transcripts into Copilot during his commute. He listens to AI summaries and has back and forth conversations with the voice assistant while
how likely do you think that some of these agents are just a whole bunch of Microsoft employees that are suddenly like, oh no, gotta do this again?
Satya's in the car, quick.
I used to always have a mantra whenever I worked at a big corporate, which is this an algorithm or is it a set of interns?
Yeah. And I love it. I love that.
How can you tell the difference?
If you bear with me, I have a wonderful story about this. About interns. This is one of my favorite stories. It's like a treasure of mine. I'm going to share with you. So I had this person in the Obama campaign come to me frantically saying this report broke. It runs every day at 4 a.m. and we absolutely have to have it. And I was like, perfect. I know how cron works. We have a whole team of engineers who know how cron works. We can fix this report instantly. It'll be very easy. And I was like, it's very important. I'll dive right in myself. And I jump in and I start interviewing all the people trying to figure out how this report is generated. And it comes from this very specific database. And I started interviewing more people about it and like, what does the report look like? Okay, so turns out the problem is that every morning at 3:30, an intern woke up, ran a SQL query, put the SQL results into a spreadsheet, took a screenshot of the spreadsheet, and then sent that to the person who needed the report. And what had happened is for the past couple days, the intern did not wake up. They were asking me not to fix this or automate this. They were literally asking me for another intern that was more reliable. And it was like this very funny lesson where I was like, there's so much I could do to fix this, but the fix was actually just finding another intern. And then we found another intern. Yeah, we got a better intern. That person got up at like 3:15 or whatever and got the report done by 4 and sent it. And we never heard about that report again. And everyone was happy. But the other part about that, the report was actually a TIFF because this was like 2011, 2012.
It was a picture of a spreadsheet.
It was a picture of a spreadsheet.
In the worst format possible.
In the worst format possible.
No,
it was just
PNG, it would be worse.
And my brain at this point is just like collapsing in on itself, thinking of like, Harper, it'll be okay. We it's fine because it actually was fine. Like that's actually one of the biggest lessons.
Couldn't you have replaced that intern with a cron job?
You could, but then you would require a tech person to maintain it, and there were billion interns and
literally
millions of interns sitting there waiting to get up at 3:30 and like hit the OLAP cubes to get the report sent to so and so, and they felt very happy.
It's really a lesson for interns,
for sure.
Wake up!
Why did it have to be an image? That's my question.
I think it was an image because
easily attachable to an email.
Question. Sure. Great question. I think that's what it was. I think it was easily attachable to email, and probably the client was somewhat flexible. They're probably in Excel or in Tableau or in some sort of client to hit this database. And screenshots are very easy to teach.
Command-Shift-4. That's all you need to know, kid.
But it was very funny. I remember doing this and just thinking, like, Eureka! I'm gonna seem so smart. And then it was less like, Harper, this is a people problem. And I was like, oh, fine.
Oh, okay, people.
Yeah.
They're so hard to automate. All right, we're going to take a little break. Harper Reed is here. It's great to have you, Harper, from Chicago. Devinder Hardawar from the Bay Area, I want to say?
No, outside Atlanta. Way on the other. I'm never going to go West Coast. That's
right.
Always on the East Coast.
Outside Atlanta.
That's East Bay.
And from London, England, jolly old Mr. Will Harris.
East Bay.
Yes, East Bay. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Hello, ZipRecruiter. We love ZipRecruiter. That's what we use. You all know what speed dating is, right? I don't have to tell you that. If you're the owner of a growing business, I don't know. What if there were a feature like speed dating, but for hiring? In other words, you could meet several interested, qualified candidates at once, all at a designated time. Well, good news, there is. It's called Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You can post your job today and start talking to qualified candidates tomorrow. Right now, you can try Zip Intro for free at ziprecruiter.com/twit. Zip Intro gives you the power to quickly assess excellent candidates for your job via back-to-back video calls. You simply pick a time. Zip Intro does all the work of finding and scheduling the qualified candidates for you. And then this is better than an intern. And then you could choose who you want to talk to, meet with great people as soon as the next day. So easy. Enjoy the benefits of speed hiring with new Zip Intro, only from ZipRecruiter, rated #1 hiring site based on G2. Try Zip Intro for free at ziprecruiter.com/twit. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/twit. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. We thank them so much for supporting This Week in Tech. If you were worried, by the way, about all that energy used by these AIs, you might be glad to hear about how they're solving this in Finland and Sweden. They're pairing computer processing facilities with district heating systems so that the waste heat, for instance, in Finland, generated by a 75 megawatt data center 5 kilometers away, could heat Finnish engineer Avi Kurvi's hot shower. The data center has provided heat for the entire town of Mantasala in southern Finland, the equivalent of 2,500 homes, 2/3 of their needs, cutting energy costs for residents, and, of course, helping to blunt the environmental downsides associated with power-hungry computing infrastructure. Unfortunately, we are building our data centers in Arizona where there's no need of heat. And there's not a lot of water either to cool them.
Yeah, great idea, guys.
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Right. We should be building everything in Sweden and Finland. It reminds me, do you remember there was a Bitcoin miner that was also could do dual purpose as your heater in your house?
That's my gaming PC in the winter. Yeah,
exactly.
Games,
exactly.
Keeps my office warm. Yeah.
My studio's up in the attic, and there's so much equipment in here. I have to actually leave the windows open because it gets so hot.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. I don't know. I threw that in. So we needed some good news about AI to throw that in. AI,
the best good news, or I guess like bad news made good, right?
Yeah. Bad news made good. Mm-hmm. Now we were talking about Anthropic's Claude. That's the coding engine you like to use, Harper. In fact, you turned me on to Claude Code, which is their command line version of that. OpenAI just launched their AI coding engine, Codex, in ChatGPT. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with it or not.
I have. I spent a bunch of time with it yesterday. I find it very compelling, but it works different than how I currently work. And I think this is kind of bringing up one of these things about AI that I think is fascinating, is we don't yet know what the user experience looks like. And so each of these companies is taking a swing at a slightly different experience. In this case, OpenAI has done this a couple times with Operator, and then with Codex. where they have what looks like a computer that you're interfacing, not necessarily via a traditional computing interface.
It is actually. It's a computer in the cloud, I think. Runs in a sandbox virtual computer in the cloud. I love this. What are we coding today is the front page prompt.
So
it works very well.
Called, and excuse me for my ignorance, is this what is called vibe coding?
Oh, I don't know if we have even time to get into this. This is my bread and butter at this moment. I love this. My vibe coding is all I do. I'm vibe coding somewhere, not at here, but at my house. The computer's vibe coding itself, doing
it right now, and you don't even you don't have to touch anything.
I just want one of those birds like Homer
What
had.
are they vibing?
well, the thing.
It's better than an intern.
It's so good, Will. Like I think they call it vibe coding from like 5 different perspectives. So I'll talk about the 2 or 3 that I think. First of all,
Andrei Karpathy was the first to use this term. It was my sense that it was coding without actually typing any code. You're you're passing the vibe of what you want onto the AI, and the AI is generating the code. Although
theremin involved somehow. Yeah.
When Karpathy was talking about it, he implied that it was a qualified, experienced coder who was doing this, not somebody who didn't know what the hell they were doing.
But it turns out that you don't have to know what you're doing.
You don't have to. Okay.
And I have many friends who have vibe coded their way into an app, and vibe coded their way into a bunch of bugs, vibe coded their way into something that they've launched.
They've launched like an MVP, kind of minimal viable.
Yeah, 100%. And I am so happy about this. Well, so basically what you do is you just sit there in front of a computer, and like whether you're using Codex, for instance, is a great example. There's a little prompt, like a little box, and you just type in like, I want to make a Expo, which is a React Native framework, an Expo app that is a Instagram knockoff. And I want to call it whatever, and I have this really important feature that I think is important for it. And it will just kind of do that, where you don't necessarily, you have relinquished control of all of the individual decisions that a developer or a designer would make in making that process.
It's cool to watch too, because it spits out the code really fast. I mean, it's in seconds. It's done.
And I find it this liberating experience. But
Harper, you can look at the code and know if there's problems. You can actually, you have enough experience to look at it and fix it.
Yes, but since we last talked, Leo, we have...
Harper's written a couple of great blog posts, by the way, on how he does this, which I recommend at harper.blog.
We have stopped using IDEs. We don't even look at the code anymore.
Oh, geez.
And this is really complicated. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, how would you do this? Like, he gave me some problem. And I was like, you just asked the AI to do it.
Where does the code go? You mean you get a binary?
No, it's on your computer. It's there, but like, why look at it? Why would you look at it? The code is so cheap to generate.
What I did with Claude Code, which was fun, was I work in Emacs with Common Lisp. I mean, I'm working in a weird, obscure world, and I just said, here's the code, fix it, and then I gave it a greenfield problem. I said, write me the code. It actually put it in Emacs for me, which is pretty cool.
I don't go that far.
I know it's crazy.
I'm much younger.
Can I just log on to, if you were gonna give me a little guide to vibe coding, I want to write an app. I want to write an app that does I don't know. It takes all my thoughts that I put into a voice note and publishes them as a blog on somewhere. Can I just vibe code that?
100%. Like, it's so ridiculous. This is why I think the vibe coding there's such a nuance to what it is and what people think about it, because you truly can do that. It probably, what I like to think about is, at what point are you going to, or is it going to generate something that is past your ability to easily maintain it? And this happens quite quickly for me. And I've been programming for 30 years professionally. And what I find is that you get to this point where you're like, well, I've lost the plot. I literally have no idea what's happening.
That's a bad thing, though, right?
I think it was a bad thing when it cost money to program computers. Because it used to be that if, Devindra came to me and said, Harper, we're building this app. And I said, great. And I said, my daily rate is X $1,000. Right. And then I kept messing up 5 days in a row, I would be fired. And that's kind of what's happening here, except instead of it being one day, it's like 10 minutes and it messes up 5 times in a row, but the 6th times it then is perfect. And
it
so
cost
then you're
me
like
$2 to write all of this code, like hundreds of thousands of lines of code. It was $2.
And so this is a really complicated issue because I just don't think there's going to be jobs anymore. That's my conclusion. I'm like, okay, therefore there's no more jobs. But what I think is even more complicated is all of these people like me, my peers, all these people I've worked with for the last 20 years in like kind of big startup tech, kind of that we conceive as tech, we really valued the craft of code. We have our fancy keyboards, we have all of this stuff that is about like this is tooling. The best thing that's going to generate the best code. Agile. We have all these tools, these methodologies, and you kind of throw them all out, and you have someone who's seen a computer for 15 minutes, and they're I just made an app, and it does all this crazy stuff, and it's perfect, and you see it, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty good, and it's very complicated because it removes the craft. And the best analogy that I've seen for this is we are all farmers and industrial farming is coming for us. And we've built our careers being farmers, and we have all these details about farming, and someone's just going to come in and replace all of us with industrial farms, and we're going to be relegated to the farmers market. So you're going to be like, Harper, you're a bespoke artisanal entrepreneur that uses bespoke artisanal product managers with bespoke artisanal engineers that use their fingers to do everything, and we're going to make something that no one actually cares about. It's going to be like
this. We've seen this story so many times. I mean,
can I use my
think of all the North Carolina furniture craftsmen who were making beautiful handmade wood furniture. And now if you buy a sofa, it was made in China, stapled together out of the cheapest wood possible. But if you wanted a handcrafted, and by the way, I found this out, if you wanted a handcrafted Amish table, you could get one, but it's $15,000 because somebody has to make it by hand. But it still exists. We've seen this before. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Will.
He dropped out. We lost
Will.
Oh, he was so mad he hung up. He's so upset. So isn't this a little dystopian sounding though, Harper?
I mean, I'm confused about this because I've spent the last 2 weeks
somebody in our Discord chat said that's the most non-inspirational speech I've ever heard.
I've been talking to a lot of young people about this, young engineering grads and young undergrads, specifically helping them wrap their head around vibe coding and kind of how to code with AI. And for what it's worth, I don't ever call it vibe coding because in my perspective, I love programming. Every time I'm programming, I'm kind of vibe coding or whatever. I just love it. Like the flow that you get. Like I love that. I look forward to that. So I don't think it's necessarily, I think vibe coding is a way to make something that is very interesting. Kind of it puts it into a negative space, which, whatever. But what I find fascinating about this is I spent all of my career learning things like POSIX Unix or QMail or these things that I love that I don't need in my brain. Or as one of my friends said, like, I wish I didn't have to know all of Python. Like I just don't. I just wish I didn't have to have all of it in my brain. Or one of my favorite tech books, right? The JavaScript, the good parts. Like it's like that's kind of what this brings us. Is rather than having to know all of the intricacies of Ubuntu or of Red Hat packaging or whatever thing is in your brain, you now just need to know the good parts. Now,
well, that's all you need to know is how to Google, right? Changed that whole idea of what is a fact. How do you hold facts, as we were talking about earlier?
But
this is the process.
At the stage where I hate to bring it back to journalism, right? But anybody can write a sort of rewritten press release of X company, released X graphics card, and here's the summary of what it does. But to really write like Hunter S. Thompson, to really write, can it do that?
I think yes, awkwardly. I don't think, here's my example, is I don't think you're going to generate Hunter S. Thompson or a beautiful novel or any of these things. But my kind of test is always, can I make it write a joke that I laugh at? And the answer to that is very much yes. But that does not mean that I would say ChatGPT is a great humorist or a great comedian. That doesn't mean that it can't make a joke that I laugh at. For instance, in the background, we have a whole bunch of sensors. They're piped through, I think it's O3 Mini or GPT-4o Mini or something. It takes all the sensor data and then it puts it through a prompt where it basically talks about what's happening in my office. I find this to be hilarious. Most of the time, it is very sarcastic. And for instance, one time we came in, it took a picture of us, it passed that picture through ChatGPT, and it said, 2 balding men are approaching the office. And we're just like, well, come on, man, what are you, come on, like, leave me alone. So it's like,
nobody's
like
bald
that.
here. What are you talking about?
Exactly. It's a hairstyle. But like that that's the type of thing that's happening. And we laughed, but I would never claim in all of whatever that it has a good sense of humor. And I think that the complicated thing here is that, and this is why I'm not in linguistics, the complicated thing is, like, I don't think it's thinking necessarily, but it certainly is outputting things that make it seem like it's thinking.
Simulating thought.
And humans are fallible and will fall in love with anything. As a friend of mine said, there are people online who have fallen in love with Miss Piggy. Why do we think they wouldn't fall in love with
Japan who have married their pillows?
Right.
It's just human.
Ask me ex-wife.
OpenAI does have a command line version of Codex CLI. They've updated that as well. I use a note-taking app called Obsidian, which has a ridiculous number of plugins. And one of the things I've thought might be really useful for me, I can't read a Obsidian plugin. It's kind of JavaScript plus, it's beyond my ken, but I could certainly vibe code plugins for myself.
Oh, yeah. And
I'm starting to think really how useful that would be. Writing bash scripts, for your cron jobs. There are a lot of little jobs that you could do that you could easily, they're not going to blow the world up if you use them.
I think this is the thing that is the most interesting for me. A friend of mine just tweeted, I've been vibe coding replacements for various SaaS products that I pay for. I'm up to build equivalent of 3 for 3 attempts.
Wow.
And I think that's kind of where we're faced.
Interesting.
And what I find fascinating as well is that things are changing so fast that I would fully expect a product to be released where someone says, describe the SaaS company that you want or the SaaS product you want. And it just takes care of all of the data storage. We'll just make it for you right there. Oh, you're, a landlord of only pigs? Great. Oh, you're a farmer that only grows, dandelions? Perfect. Here's the product for you, because you just need the constraints that problem has, and then the AI will generate it for you.
We have a sponsor, OutSystems, that did for years low code, right? Mm-hmm. And now they've added AI assistance so that you can basically, instead of their whole pitch used to be you had to decide build or buy. Now you just, you buy our system and you build whatever you want. You don't have to buy anything ever again.
And do you think it makes it easier for startups? Because the paradigm of startups was always you had, one guy with the idea, one guy who had the business insight, and then you needed a technical co-founder, right? The guy that could actually build the thing that you had the insight for. Do you think it replaces the technical co-founder?
I think this is now the time of the business guy. They have been waiting in the wings of all the MBAs.
My reaction exactly.
They're like sitting back there in every business school. They have their little thing.
You're in.
Their little thing they filled out that said looking for a tech co-founder, and they're just ripping it up and being like, finally, it's our time.
Don't need a
zipping
co-founder.
Up their sweater vests. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to take a little break. This is great, fascinating discussion. Lots more to talk about. Devendra Hardawar here, Harper Reed, Will Harris. Glad we got you back, Will. We lost you for a moment there, but I think everything's okay now in London.
I had the perfect storm of, when Mac OS decides you're in the middle of a really important call. Now's going to be when I decide to update.
Really? That's a Windows thing. Mac did that to you? Wow. Apple.
Tim Cook hasn't learned vibe coding yet.
Yeah. I just remember the War of the Worlds that started in London, and I just thought maybe I just was a little nervous. That's all. But I'm glad you came back. I'm just glad. This episode of This Week in Tech brought to you by Drata. If you're leading risk and compliance at your company, you're likely wearing 10 hats at once, managing security risks, compliance demands, budget constraints, all while trying not to be seen as the roadblock that slows the business down, right? But GRC isn't just about checking boxes. It can really be a revenue driver that builds trust, accelerates deals, strengthens security. That's why modern GRC leaders turn to Drata, a trust management platform that automates the tedious tasks so you can focus on the important stuff, reducing risk, proving compliance, scaling your program. With Drata, you can automate security questionnaires, you can automate evidence collection, compliance tracking, and you can stay audit ready with real-time monitoring. You'll love the Drata Trust Center and AI-powered questionnaire assistance. It simplifies security reviews like nothing else. You need Drata. Instead of spending hours proving trust, build it faster with Drata. Ready to modernize your GRC program? Visit drata.com/weekintech to learn more. You got that? DRATA, drata.com/weekintech. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. I don't know what to think about this story, but I have to. I mean, it's fascinating. China has begun assembling a supercomputer in space. They plan a 20. We have, as you know, we have our own, Starlink satellite network up there. They're planning to launch a 2,800 satellite network, but instead of putting internet service providers up there, they're going to put AI computers in these. They're all part of a company called ADA Space, which is out of China. It's part of their Star Compute program, the first of what they call the three-body computing constellation, which is, I think, pretty funny since the three-body problem was a fascinating sci-fi.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong, right? Yeah. That's the one where the scientist goes off the reservation and contacts the aliens, and maybe that wasn't a good idea. Each of the satellites that they've launched now has an onboard 8 billion parameter AI model capable of 744 TOPS. That's a lot. It's a lot more than any PC you'd have at home. Collectively says they can manage ADA Space says they can manage 5 peta operations per second. That's a new number for me. POPs, they call that.
A lot of skepticism on that number there.
Yeah. Okay, 5 POPs is a lot. That's more than 40 TOPS, which is what
it's more than 2
PC
POPs.
has.
2. It's way more than 2.
It's way more than 2 POPs.
Is it more than ZZ Tops?
The eventual goal is to get 2,800 satellites up there and achieve 1,000 peta operations per second. They communicate with each other using lasers, so that's pretty modern, up to 100 gigabits per second. They share in total 30 terabytes of storage.
But I mean, what for? Yeah, what's going on here?
I don't know. I'm just saying Skynet might actually be in the sky. I'm just saying.
It would be the thing. I just want to put this number in perspective. The 5090 has 3,300 TOPS.
Yeah.
So that's a 5090.
Yeah. This is okay.
Very expensive.
And compared to these satellites, which is far less.
But I'm definitely the person that says please and thank you to their ChatGPT model just for when the great reckoning comes. They didn't know that I was great.
It does solve the issue of you're putting them in space, so cooling is not a problem, right? And
no, I think it's the problem is cooling is a different problem. It's not that it solves the problem. It's definitely different than cooling is a different issue than what it is on Earth.
Yeah.
I'm in a group chat of a bunch of AI people, and every time this pops up, there's the people who are like, "Oh, cooling is then solved," and all these physicists are like, "No, it's just way different. Where's it going to go? It doesn't dissipate. It's just chilling there."
Yeah, so it's radiation over dissipation. Like in space, you can only reduce heat via radiation, which is a very slow process.
Ah, very interesting.
See, this is exactly what happened. A bunch of people in a group chat, and then someone pops in with some physics.
The voice of God.
Yeah.
In our case, it's Benito Gonzalez.
Harper, what's the answer?
So I think this is a...
is this propaganda
example
from China?
No, I don't think it is, because this is the same thing that, like, there's a lot of American companies that are doing this as well. I think that what we're seeing is a glimpse of where we're going. And the reason for that is exactly as we talked about with the Finnish data cooling system, right? Which is there's less space. It is on the Earth. It's sadly taken by humans. There is all these pesky regulations about exhaust, about destruction of the environment, etc., that are getting in the way of turning everything into a data center. And this is when I call back into like the pave the Earth kind of propaganda from Usenet back in the day. Remember all that? But it's like this kind of fun thing of like, oh, well, what if we just put it into space? In the same way people say, oh, what if we just went to Mars? And there's very serious people working on these problems of like, what happens if we go to Mars? How do we have proper plants on Mars? So on and so forth. In the same way that these guys are like, well, let's put a 5090 up into space. What does that look like? What are the problems we're solving? How do we solve those problems? Because if they do solve that problem of cooling, of power, of all these things, it seems like there's a lot of space in space, and most of it we're using to see the stars, but we don't need the stars. We just need GPUs.
Here's a link to the NASA study, State-of-the-Art Small Spacecraft Technology. Chapter 7 is Thermal Controls, Passive Radiation Systems. NASA's thought a lot about this. Heat pipes, deployable radiators, thermal louvers. There's, because it's not just, Skynet. You just got to solve this. I mean, if you're going to put people in space, you have to solve it.
Expanse, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, there's definitely something there. I think the question I always have with all of this stuff, and the same thing we were talking about AI agents that truly know me, that can replace my human assistant, is when does that happen, not if it happens. And I think that's the same with this. It's definitely going to happen.
It's on its way.
We're going to put some, infrastructure somewhere in space, or on the moon or in orbit or wherever, and that's going to then beam stuff back to us. Like, that's not crazy. That's what Starlink does, right? Is it takes internet and pushes it to us. Right. That's what these new phones do. That's very nice. We all agree with that. But so why is it so crazy that we try and put a data center up there? Right. I don't think this is a wild idea. I think it's just people are excited about what they're doing, so they're releasing claims very, very early.
Yeah,
when you start
it's a little too
comparing
early
it to, you're like,
pops.
I can go to Micro Center here in Chicago, pick up a 5090, put it in my house, and it heats my desk. Or I can spend $100 million and shoot it into space
for less tops.
For way less tops, but more pops. It has way more pops.
Yeah, more pops.
Eventually,
can I ask you a question, Harper? Which is, you made an off the cuff remark, which might have just been off the cuff, which is, I can replace my human assistant with this.
Yeah, that's coming.
Would you want to replace your human assistant with this? I quite like my human assistant.
I think it depends. Like, what if
not everyone can afford an actual
not everyone has
human assistant?
I would love an assistant.
Me too, but I can't afford an assistant. I do have my little AI guy listening at all times.
Yeah, how's that going, Leo? That thing.
It's semi-useful. Like, it makes a to-do list for me every day, and it's useful. This is from B.Computer, and then I've talked about it before, but yeah, it's got suggestions. It's it knows what I'm doing. Like, it says on my to-do list, organize and store the newly purchased baking supplies.
Yeah. Does your assistant care for you?
Safe?
Well, it says you should clean the cat's litter box. It's becoming noticeably smelly.
That's a good one.
Is your AI? I think that's the difference. Is your AI assistant a task manager or a genuine
it's a helper. It's a helper.
A support system, and support system is not the same as a task manager, right?
But typically, we keep talking about the support system, and the support system of community and of love and safety, I don't necessarily think should be a relationship of capitalism. Like, I don't want to pay someone to care for me. I don't want to pay someone to love me and make me feel safe. I mean, we pay taxes, etc. We can be as pedantic as we want about this, but like, I do think that, and I've worked with admins and had wonderful experiences. And one of my favorite experiences is a billionaire's admin told me that my admin was very good, and I was like, that's like a pro telling you that your admin is pro. I was like, I immediately texted them and was like, you've won. You're now in the major leagues. Don't get a better job because I can't afford to pay you their salary. But the reality is like, I do think that there is this thing of like, a good admin is you just cannot replace them. And I don't think this is coming for them, but I do think it's making their job easier. And if you don't have an admin, it can give you admin-like experiences that is real. And I don't think this is coming next week or Tuesday, but like, I did my email. I've been doing my email with Claude. It's incredible. Really? Yeah, it's absolutely the wildest thing. And I
do you
really
have it read it? So what do? You say, here's an email, respond to it, or do you actually?
Oh, I wrote a Gmail MCP server.
Okay.
That will connect into Gmail, so I can load it up in Claude Desktop or Claude Code, and I can say, hey, tell me what's in my inbox. Let's look at the top 3 things there, and let's reply to them. I had a little bug in there, and I had a bad situation recently, which I need to blog about. Where this is what's like.
That sounds like an understatement, Harper.
Yeah.
I don't.
This was bad. So I had this dear friend of mine, a really good friend, ping me and said, hey, this person's looking for someone to write an AI book. Would you be interested? And I was like, let's hear the pitch. And so they connected me to this person, and the person gave me this very great pitch that said, I'd love you to write this book. It had this very specific point of view that I just I'm not that person, but I was like, I do know exactly who this was. This is in my head. So I had my little AI assistant, Claude Code, MCP mix, say, do my emails. And that came up. That was a third email on it. And it wrote this very effusive response. And I had it save it as a draft. And I was like, hold your horses. This is not for me. I know these 2 people who I think would be perfect for this. This is well within their framework. I think they would be good at it. They would be cynical but truthful. They would write a great book. I would want to read their book. Let's reply with that. And Claude's like, great, done. So I just went and hit send. I didn't even read it. And then I get a reply back from this publisher this person who is just like, great, I love that you're excited about this. And I was like, oh no. And it had sent the first email, not the second. And so I replied to this person, and they were very nice and very sweet.
What did you say that was an AI that did that?
So I replied to this person and I said, hey, here is the email that I meant to reply with. I had an AI agent doing my emails.
Wow.
And it replied with the incorrect email. I'm so sorry. I would still love to talk about the project, and I would love to connect you with these 2 people who I still think would be very good. And that person replied and was like, makes me very uncomfortable. I do not think we should talk any longer.
Wow.
And I was kind of like, well, first of all, if I didn't want to do a book, this is like the best way to coerce me to do a book, right? Like the guilt here, I would have written a book just to get out of that email, that situation without feeling guilty. But the second thing is, it also sounds like the perfect intro to an AI book about what's going to happen. Of just like, we're not necessarily in control of some of this stuff. But that did not dissuade me from doing my emails with an AI helper. It just made me be more careful and more thoughtful.
Yeah, you want to read the drafts before they're sent.
Because I'm basically texting with someone who's writing emails on my behalf, which I have done, and that works great. And the fact that I'm just sitting there being like, nope, make it more casual, make it sound more like me. Oh yeah, I'd love to go to that barbecue. Oh no, I don't want to write that book. Or yes, I would love to write that book. Oh, just kidding. Like, the fact that it's very Q&A, I get so much interesting. It just felt like an interesting interface that I had not yet experienced. And it's been fascinating. But yeah, I felt really, really bad about that.
Is this what your company's doing? Is Agentic AI? Is it creating MCP servers?
No. I think MCP is a midpoint. I think it's a very interesting way for these things to use tools, but it doesn't seem like...
First of all, I should probably...
I was going to say, for the lay people, can you define it?
So MCPs, as far as I can tell, I think it's much more complex than I'm about to describe it, but it seems like a way to describe an API in a very verbose terms that allows for the AI to know exactly how to use this. So for instance, if you wanted to make a client that tweeted for you or posted to Mastodon for you, both of those have very well-defined AI or APIs, then you could just give it the API docs and it would have to figure out all this stuff. Or you write a middleware that is much more friendly to how AIs work that would allow it to just understand very quickly exactly what it needs to do. It might just have one endpoint that is called tweet or read timeline or various things like this. So it takes a complex thing and simplifies it. And then it gives you a bunch of example
Are you still
prompts.
writing the tweet or is it doing it for you?
I mean, that's up to you. Like you could say, I need to write a tweet about, I'm going to be on this great podcast and I want all my friends and followers to listen. And it could just be like, what's the podcast? You'd say, and then you'd say like, what are you excited about it? You could prompt it to have it do whatever, and then it would write you the tweet. And then you could just be like, perfect, send it. And it would send it. And in my case, it would send it to the wrong person. But, it would send it. And this works. This works really well. And so you see these folks on Twitter who are posting about really incredible setups of using NCP servers to do all sorts of really complicated things. And it's quite impressive. I don't necessarily believe in MCP servers. And the reason is because I think we're going to spend all this time building these things. And then the next thing we know, the LLMs are just going to be using our computers they're not going to need this midpoint.
It's a transitional tool.
It is a transitional tool, 100%. And if you look at where things are going, like some of the computer use models that are coming out of China, some of them that are coming out of the US, they're really incredible. Like they're doing really incredible stuff. They're just slow. But what we've seen in the past 3 years is it just gets faster and faster and faster. So there's no reason why we shouldn't see some app that just is like, you just kind of say to the computer, you emote to it, which is my favorite part about this. You're basically emoting to these computers. You're like, I would love it if you could just go to this website, go to Amazon and buy me that book I heard about. And you have the little bee thing hooked to your collar so it knows exactly what you're talking about.
You can kind of do that. It just kind of
goes and does it.
Yet. But I feel like I'm training something that someday will be able to do that kind of thing. It's like it's learning about me. It's got a lot of facts.
Make a difference whether you're on a computer or on a phone.
Well, this is the real question that I have. Like, this is the thing. If you're talking about this stuff, does the destination look like a computer that we use today? Like the thing that I talk about with my team all the time is like, why isn't a little teddy bear that sits on my desk? Why isn't it a little device that I carry with me?
It's just something you talk to, right?
Or why is it talking? Why isn't it subvocalizing? Like, what is the interface? I think we have this interesting time where we really need to be thoughtful about the interfaces and where the interfaces are coming from, and how do we make them more accessible? Not just accessible for people who can like afford a computer with a keyboard, which is a very specific class of person, the West, etc. But also like it doesn't have to be super expensive either. Like some of these new chips.
It's also an age of person. The number of Gen Zs and Gen Alphas that just don't own a computer, right? And they're just straight into phones is going to be a different world.
It's the way it is. It's the future. Yeah.
So I do find this very complicated, but we're seeing a lot of glimpses of the future, and I think it's up to us, and I mean this in the very global us, to like weave the future together in the way we want it.
That's a very encouraging thing, because there are things we don't want.
Right. And do we want it to be like, the system prompt that's being, programmed to give us a very specific political viewpoint? Or do we want it to the way where you get to spend more times with your friends and family while you earn, I don't know, UBI coin by going to the pub every 5 minutes or whatever it is? Like, I don't know what the actual answer is, but I do think, I actually think the newest season of Black Mirror does a good job of talking about some of these issues of what happens around this stuff. And it was quite depressing in some regards and quite like melancholy and kind of beautiful in other regards. And I think it's up to us to make that decision. And this is one of the reasons why I'm excited and have this company, is because I think we have to choose the path of the future that we want. And we can't just let the oligarch bros be the ones that are choosing that.
That I agree with. Yeah.
They'll use their products, I suppose, because there's not a lot of foundational models coming out.
That's the problem. It's very expensive, isn't it? And don't you need to be an oligarch to create these things, or maybe not?
I mean, I think maybe what we saw with DeepSeek was really interesting because it was this company that did have a boatload of GPUs. Let's not act like they told us this story about how it was very cheap to build, and I think it was as compared to like an OpenAI. But and Devendra, I'm sure you covered this and thought about this a little bit as well. But it's this thing of like they did it less expensive. And that's really the direction we want. We don't necessarily need it to be cheap. We just need it to be continuously less expensive.
And less damaging to the environment, too. I mean, right now, it's kind of scary.
It's, the point, it's going to be the point where you can roll your own, based on everything that has been learned before. And I think that was one of the big things with DeepSeek is that it was able to launch off of a lot of the training that already existed too.
Right.
And they were able to do it much more quickly because they learned from those mistakes. But the thing, when you're describing something like this, Harper, I'm just thinking like, it really is the phone. Like our phones are the Star Trek communicators. It is the thing we have been dreaming of in science fiction for so long. I have my desk littered with all these like garbage AI products like the Rabbit R1. Yeah. And these are all a waste of time because what you need, it just should be your life phone. Revolves around your phone. Yeah. Our phones are already getting like really good AI power, more GPU power and things like that. And it's only going to get better. So from what I'm thinking, it's like, what can we lean on our phones to do now? Like right now, voice memos in your iPhone can automatically transcribe, which is something you couldn't do last year. And that is life-changing for me as a journalist. So
I imagine the phone in conjunction with AirPods, however, or some sort of in-ear speaker, maybe Meta Ray-Bans, some sort of way of talking to it without taking it out of your pocket and of it responding to you. Because in many cases, all you need is audio back. You don't need a screen.
Guys, all I can tell you is that I just want tea Earl Grey hot.
What if it is from a cannon?
When we can do that, I can retire quietly.
Because you could probably hook a little cannon thing to a Waymo, and it could just cruise by your house and shoot it through the window at the right time. I'm sure that can happen.
Yeah.
I can't wait to live in this sci-fi future. We're going to take a little break. Harper Reed, it's great to have you. Will Harris, also, it's great to see you again, my friend. It's been a while. We got to stay in touch. You're constantly moving. Instagrams, Will Harris, we call him now. And of course, Devendra Hardawar, whose podcast Will is a fan of. He loves films.
I love, honestly, Devendra, the Filmcast. I am an every week listener, and I love the. I can't wait to watch you lose the summer movie draft again.
I'm gonna lose so badly. Yeah.
David Chen, Jeff Kanata, of course, Devendra, talking about movies. You said you just did your Mission Impossible review.
We have not done it yet. I just saw it and I did a review over at Engadget, so you can kind of get a preliminary, glimpse into my thoughts. But we're doing that next week, and it's going to be a big review. I think you all should listen to that one.
Yeah, before we see the film.
Filmcast.com. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Should I go out and see Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts is great. Shockingly great. Mainly because Florence Pugh is always a treasure. It's a great movie all around. Yeah.
Good. See, we need Devendra, don't we, to know. I haven't been to a movie theater since Oppenheimer. I don't know.
Man.
I just wait till they come out and
I saw Sinners.
Florence Pugh also great.
I want to see Sinners. Yeah, I really want to see Sinners.
You're the Florence Pugh also great in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, she was great in Oppenheimer as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Our show today brought to you by Monarch Money. Oh, I have been using this and I love it. Finances, as you probably know, can be messy and confusing. Monarch Money, talk about a personal assistant. It's like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, your investments, your goals. Don't just manage your money, start building your wealth. And by the way, do it with 50% off your first year just for you, our listeners. I use Monarch. I check Monarch these days with the stock market going every which way but loose. I check Monarch Money every morning just to see where I stand, It's great for budgeting. It's great for reviewing, the big transactions and where you stand. And I just like it to see where my investments are going. Start managing, and it's a great way to do it all in one place. You just connect up all your accounts. It couldn't be easier. Start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. One thing I have learned in my advanced age is without a clear financial picture, your financial dreams can just feel so out of reach. Monarch makes managing money simple, no matter how busy you are, with all your accounts right in there, credit cards, investments, everything in one place. You'll always know where your money stands, but without any hassle. I just open it right up and there I am. Track your spending, your savings, your investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, which is making your biggest life goals a reality. It's a finance tool people actually love. Join over 1 million households, named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts, 30,000 5-star reviews. Add me to the list. I love it. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code TWIT at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code TWIT. We thank them so much for supporting the show. Let's talk about old school engineering know-how. Voyager 1 is 15 billion miles away, and they lost control of its thrusters. They've actually been considered inoperable since 2004. Engineers just fixed them. The Interstellar Thruster Resurrection. A little creative problem solving from the engineering team. There is a great documentary, by the way, on the Voyagers that you should absolutely watch, because these guys have been part of this team for like 40 years, right? And more. And they just they're getting on. This is all they've been doing. The group's getting smaller and smaller. The thrusters have been inactive since 2004 when the internal heaters lost power. But engineers discovered that a circuit disturbance might have simply flipped the heater power switch off. So last month they remotely commanded the spacecraft to activate the backup thrusters, restart the heaters. Kind of a risky thing. They could have lost contact with the Voyager, but no, it worked.
I mean, it's just mad, isn't it?
Isn't it crazy? 15 billion miles away.
15 billion miles, and we can restart a thruster. It was basically the equivalent of turning it off and on again.
Basically, that's what happened. 47 years Voyager 1 has been out there. This is, by the way, not the Star Trek Voyager. That was never launched. It's like Voyager 30 or something. That was just a movie fiction. But we don't need movie fiction. There are two of them out there, and it's still. It's nice to have a
reminder. Humans are incredible.
Humans do something.
Can do these things, and also bring measles back. We can do all these things.
We can do anything.
Move forward, and we can go backwards.
We can bring it
go
back.
Sideways.
We can do whatever you want. You just ask.
It's humans.
Oh.
So I don't.
There's a nice little. Sorry, you're.
You pick something. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say there's a nice little story at the bottom. Have you guys been playing Blueprints?
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute. What is that? I don't know that.
Yeah, what is this?
Sort of like first-person puzzle game where you're mapping out a mansion.
Blueprints. It's called.
Put it in the little submissions at the bottom.
Okay.
There you go.
It's been the most popular Steam title of the last, I don't know how long.
It's pretty good.
It's the
20. It says 25% of Steam players are playing it.
It's
what?
Absolutely nuts.
What?
25% of Steam players are playing this game.
I feel left out now.
It's a pun on Blueprint, which is, obviously the.
Although I have to say, 50% of this panel is playing it, so it's actually not surprising.
15. Devindra, do you want to try and explain it?
I mean, I'm only a couple hours in because this is one of those games where it's good to have like a lot of time in. But yeah, I believe you're visiting a deceased relative's home. You can the goal is like if you get to a certain hidden room, you can take control of this estate and everything that they own.
Is this a little like Myst? Yeah. Remember that game?
It's a little misty. It's a little misty. Every day you go in and you have to basically map the room, but you randomly get a set of different cards and you can like map out how you want the hallways and the actual layout of the building.
See, AI could help you with this.
I mean,
I've heard of people actually playing like that old adventure, Colossal Cave Adventure, and using AI to map it out for them.
Yeah. Why would you? Then
it's
that's
kind of like Myst combined with a deck builder.
Yes.
Combined with some sort of crazy puzzle game, and it has just completely captured the world. And this week, 25% of everybody that has Steam are playing Blueprints.
I need to play it.
Written by, like 3 guys in the arse end of nowhere.
That's fantastic.
It's very misty. Leo, you should definitely play it. But like, this is the game to play now. This and Clair Obscur, which is also fantastic.
It does look a little bit misty, but it's not. Myst was like one picture at a time. So there are 45 rooms, and you're trying to find the 46th, basically.
Yeah, but you lay out
that's only
how
the beginning. You find the 46.
Yeah.
And then the real mystery starts to unfold.
Oh. So it's a little bit like Clue too, huh?
There's a bit of that. There's item collection. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes into crazy
Is this one of those things though where you like standing in the room and you just cannot I can't figure it out. That's what happened to me with Myst.
That's the entire game. Yeah.
That's the whole thing. You get stuck in a room.
But you make progress. You discover new rooms. You find out little bits. Like it's really cool and immersive, and it's such a throwback to things like Myst. Yeah,
it is. It's an old school game. Mm-hmm. Blueprints. Well, thank you.
One of those things that's totally. There are very, very, very few indie games that
with that kind of success,
level of popularity.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't need no Grand Theft Auto 6. There's too many games.
Yeah, we got already. Blueprints.
You got Blueprints. You got the new Doom. You got Clair Obscur. Come on.
Jamie Lee Curtis is publicly shaming Mark Zuckerberg because he ignored her request to remove a deepfake scam ad on Facebook and Instagram. It used AI manipulated video to hawk some sketch product. So she's gone on Facebook and Instagram saying, "My name is Jamie Lee Curtis, and I've gone through every proper channel to ask you and your team to take down this totally AI fake commercial for some BS that I didn't authorize, agree to, or endorse."
I think that's the only way to work in this world.
Yell at them. Yell at them on their own platform.
Well, it's a little bit of kind of this like tweak on the Streisand effect, right? Where
use your notoriety. Yeah.
Use your notoriety to really poke at these things. Otherwise, they're not going to care. And the problem is that, those of us who don't have that platform have none of that power. And so I'm happy that this is happening, and I hope it points, it helps a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit of Scarlett Johansson did that as well with the AI voice stuff.
Yeah.
And we know how tech people are. We are tech people. Like, we're not naturally going to change. We're going to be like, but we're making the world better, and it's like we're going to have this perverse perspective of how it's going to work without thinking of how it affects people around us. So I think it's important for people to stand up and shout a bit.
By the way, it worked. According to Engadget, a spokesperson for Meta said the company is removing the video.
So can I give a minor little plug for a company that one of my friends is running?
Yes,
which is called VerifyLabs.ai. And their whole premise is that one of the major attack vectors over the next, we're getting it now, but over the next few years, is jumping on a Zoom call with somebody who's a complete deepfake.
That happened. Remember, a few months ago, a guy thought he was talking to the CEO and the CFO of his company and transferred some huge amount of money.
That is exactly it. And that is happening more and more. If you're a lawyer, you need to be able to verify that the person you're taking a deposition from is not, in fact, a thing. So what these guys have developed is a Chrome extension. And if you're in a Zoom call or a Google Meet or whatever, you can hit a little button on your Chrome extension, and it will say this person is 98% real. Or,
how does it know? How do it know?
They have a whole bunch of tech that sort of sorts out whether or not it's real or not. But
I don't trust
really
any of this.
Interesting thing, because we're going to have to get to the point where, I love appearing on This Week in Tech. It's always one of the highlights of my week. But one day if I log on and there's, fake Leo saying, welcome to This
there
Week
will be
in Tech.
As soon as we can do it, I'm doing it.
To appear on this episode, we're looking forward to your donation of $10,000.
Come to me now, my children.
Exactly.
The children of the night.
And it's going to be a huge thing. This deep fake fraud is going to be absolutely enormous over the next few years.
Wow.
I think it is already a thing, and I think it is already happening. And
can you detect it? Is the question. You sound like you're skeptical.
I mean, I am skeptical. I'm skeptical of a lot of these things. I remember when there was a huge Twitter bot problem, and I bought my brother a couple 100,000 Twitter followers, and then I ran into one of those spam detectors, and it was like, your followers, me, are all fake, and his were all real. And I was like, oh no,
no.
I can verify that these are fake. I purchased them, but I think it's a really complicated problem. It probably is much like a CAPTCHA, where it's not just about entering it's not about clicking on the bicycles or entering the characters. It's about how your mouse moves. All these other
AI
things.
Can solve CAPTCHAs now, right?
But I think it's this arm race, and
it is an arms race.
It's going to be a total arms race for the next however many years of. We're going to have better deepfake creation, better deepfake detection, better deepfake creation.
Lisa showed me a meme this morning that looked, for all intents and purposes, real. But I just sniffed that it was AI, and I don't know if it was. And I wondered, how could I tell it's AI? But humans are really tuned from millions of years of evolution to detect phoniness of some kind.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the things that I really wanted to do that I was always very gutted that I didn't get to do is. Leo, you had the book we published on Douglas Adams.
I do,
and I really wanted to have Douglas Adams read one of his unread excerpts as a deepfake.
Well, you remember the documentary company that did the Anthony Bourdain documentary, where they used an AI Anthony Bourdain to read something he really wrote. And it sounded really like him, but they got in a heap of trouble, especially with Bourdain's estate.
Yeah, so we created it. We had a version of Douglas that was reading something that he wrote, and the estate, wouldn't let us do it.
Estates don't like that. Yeah,
it was sad because for those of us who love Douglas and love that kind of, would love to hear more from him.
Well, I just want to go on record. As someone with more than 100,000 hours of video of me publicly available, my estate says go right ahead.
So here's the complicated thing.
Your lawyer's going to call right now, Leo.
Yeah, but here's the complicated thing with all this is that I wonder if it's a cost of money or if it's a cost of it's unclear how to commercialize it. My cynical kind of point of view is that they're not trying to protect the vibe of the person or some like IP. They're just trying to figure that they can't quickly understand how to attach a dollar amount to it, and so they just say no until they understand.
Right, because they don't know how to. Well, I'll give you as an example the voice of Darth Vader. James Earl Jones, as I remember, his estate said you can. They gave his voice out. They sold the rights to it, I believe. And now Darth Vader is appearing in Fortnite.
Fortnite will be the first time that James Earl Jones has posthumously appeared as Darth Vader. Before he died, he recorded. He spent days in a recording studio,
right,
recording anything. And
intending to make a AI simulacrum of himself. Yeah, a model
that could be used after his death.
So Epic announced that if you find and defeat Vader on the Fortnite map, you can recruit him onto your team. You can talk to him using the in-game chat feature, and he will respond in James Earl Jones' voice. You are wise, old young one. Let's go smash that man. I don't know what he would say. What do you say in Fortnite? Let's dance.
You should have built higher, young man.
You should have built higher. Now it makes me want to play Fortnite, but you have to beat Vader, which is probably not an easy thing to do. So player audio and transcriptions of their voices will not be stored, although Epic will have access to transcriptions of Vader's responses, just in case players report Darth Vader swore at me.
They're already players are already making it say they're swearing, it's saying messed up stuff, and this is what happens. You just put a live AI out there. It's kind of cool, but it's also at least in this one, James Earl Jones had full control. This was his choice to do that. The thing about your Douglas Adams example, Will, however,
it must be tempered with action.
Okay, you know what? Just tell me your fucking favorite food, Darth Vader. Just tell me it.
Whoa!
This is a Twitch stream.
This favorite, Padme. I require a palatable and efficient sustenance that will sustain me.
It's pretty good.
What freaking fucking food is that, Darth Vader? Tell me.
Double down. Freaking fucking. What? Such vulgarity does not become you. Not allowed.
That's the one that you're going to report.
I love it. I love it.
At least it was his choice to sell this thing. He did not know what would happen to it.
I think he
didn't have that choice.
He's up there and laughing.
Sure, his estate's laughing.
Yeah, the estate's laughing all the way.
Estate's laughing all the way to the bank, as they say. By the way, Epic is trying to get back on the iOS store, and Apple, even though the judge spanked him hard, is still saying no way, man.
Yeah.
Apple is blocking Fortnite from both the US and the EU app stores, probably without any merit. Fortnite has gone back to the judge saying, Your Honor,
not playing fair.
They're not letting us in.
It's almost like you've got an executive branch that sort of ignores court orders and sets a precedent for everybody else.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Sorry to be political.
No, but it's a good point. It's a slippery slope. Once you start doing that, people lose respect. Epic says Apple's denial is, quote, blatant retaliation for challenging it in court. Well, duh. Really? I think the judge, but this is the point, is the judge already yelled at Apple, apparently without any effect. Apple's immediately appealed it. Apple says, we're not going to let it in until after the Ninth Circuit rules on our appeal.
What do you think is going to, what's the end game here, Devendra?
The end game for Apple or for Epic? I feel like it's Tim Sweeney, right? The end game was to make Apple essentially get rid of these all these fees, especially if you're charging for stuff outside the App Store, and they kind of got what they wanted. But I think Epic thought, this is it, we can get right back there immediately, and no, Apple's just making them sweat, basically.
Although Amazon immediately put a buy this book button on the Kindle app. A lot of apps have immediately said, "Oh, good, we're going to put that button on there."
Yeah.
Apple, was getting around it by saying, "Well, first of all, you can't do that, and if you do it in the EU, where the law says you can, we're going to charge 27% commission, so you're not going to really save any money anyway." And that's what really cheesed the judge off. She said, "Wait, that's called malicious compliance." Nextcloud has a complaint against Android, against Google. I think Google maybe has a little bit of merit in this. For the last few months, if you use Nextcloud, you were not able to use the Android version to copy files from Android to your Nextcloud server. Nextcloud complained. Finally, Google has given in. According to Nextcloud, unhappy with the recently lost file upload feature in Nextcloud app for Android. So are we. Under that, it said, good news. This morning, May 15th, Google reached out to us and offered to restore the permission, which will give the functionality back that was lost. I understand Google's probably thinking, well, we don't want an app to be able to just kind of randomly transfer files off your Android phone. But on the other hand, this is Nextcloud. It's an open source project. It's reliable.
This really feels like Grandpa Simpson waving his fist at the cloud.
100%.
I do that every day.
Android is a platform of freedom and openness, except not like this.
Not always.
Not too much.
Not always. You have the new Galaxy S25, the Edge?
No, I don't really do phone reviews anymore. Thank God, because those were huge
hard
pain.
life.
It's hard. But no, we reviewed it. Matt Smith reviewed that for us. Yeah. And he's liking it, but it's the S25 Edge. It's a thinner S25 by a few millimeters, and it's the sort of thing where it's like, we gain nothing except a slightly thinner phone. It's not much lighter than the
less battery life, probably.
Less battery life, no telephoto lens, so the camera is worse as well. You kind of lose all these things to get this super thin phone.
But look how thin it is.
You've still got to put it in a case, otherwise it's going to fall apart.
Some people don't. Exactly. Apparently, the case Apple made is also really thin too. Like that actually keeps it down, or the case Samsung made.
There are rumors that Apple's going to do the same thing with the iPhone 17. There'll be a slim version.
That's basically it.
Is the market demanding a thin phone? Is that why?
The market does not demand things.
I thought it was all Johnny Ive pushing the thinness thing,
I think these companies are desperate to do something new, something a little different. Right. It's because phones have gotten really, really boring, aside from the foldables. And even then, that's not a fully baked, thing to do right now. Yeah, this is going to be an era of super thin phones. Apple's going to try something here. The thinking is like whatever Apple does could be like, the first step towards a foldable, because once you make one super thin side, you can make two and connect them together. So there's that. And I think everybody forgot the new iPad Pros are also crazy thin. The iPad Pros are even thinner than this S25 Edge right now. And
oh, really?
I will tell you, the first time I saw one of those in person when I did WWDC last year, it was sort of a wow moment. It's like,
I love my M4 iPad Pro. It's funny, for years, I thought the iPad is, I want a Mac or I want a phone. The iPad doesn't have a role in my life, and so I would buy them, but I really wouldn't have a use. But for something's happened now with the keyboard and everything, I use it more and more and more, and I'm actually using more than my MacBook Air lately.
That's interesting.
Can I tell you my only good iPad story was, I love my iPad, but it's a glorified Netflix device. But when Apple first launched it back in 2010?
Like 2012. Yeah.
2011. Yeah, it was right before Steve Jobs. So 2010.
Yes.
Yeah.
What they used to do was simulcast the presentation from San Francisco into somewhere in London, so that as a London journo,
you could go.
You could watch it, and then they would have the they'd have the model,
the demo area,
go and play with afterwards.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So there is a wonderful venue in London called the Old Truman Brewery, and it does what it says on the tin. It's in East London. It used to be an enormous brewery, and it's quite famous for being an old brewery. And Apple held this press launch there. So they've got it, it's 6:00 in the evening. They've got a big cinema screen. They've put seating out. They've, you turn up as a journalist and you're thinking, right, this is going to be fantastic. I'll turn up at 6:00 after work. I'll have a beer while I'm watching the...
Yes, it's a brewery. Of course you will.
Right. And you walk in and Apple puts on orange juice and sparkling water.
Yeah, I knew this. I knew where this was going because Apple won't let you drink. There's no way.
And
they're Puritans.
I think maybe the best headline as a journalist I ever wrote was Apple launches iPad, fails to organize piss up in brewery.
Could have been fun. Were you writing for the Register at that point? That sounds like a Register headline.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Well, maybe thin in a phone isn't what you want, but if you are bringing a handheld point of sale device to a table in a restaurant, thin probably is good. This is the new Square $400 handheld. They say is one of the thinnest and lightest point of sale devices on the market. You see, you probably don't understand this. Well, no, you spend a lot of time in the U.S. In the U.S., we prefer to give our credit cards to a waiter who then removes it to the back of out of your sight.
That is
psycho. You guys are psycho. Over here, you request the bill. The person brings the receipt, brings a little terminal, and you tap your card. And you
never let go of your card.
Harper, you would probably have more experience talking about that. But the whole payment system here is ridiculous. Yeah,
I'm astounded. I love it, and how muscle memory it is for Americans who like go and sit in some restaurant in London and then hand the waiter who is like, what are you doing?
I don't need your card, sir.
Why would you? You're not from here. I'm sorry. I'll give you a receipt and a pin. But it's like this hilarious thing. And the terminal is great. Like this is really cool stuff. But am I not mistaken in that I think you can do this with an iPhone right now and an Android phone?
They added that feature.
Yeah,
although I'll be honest, I'd much rather see something that looks like a point of sale device than the waiter saying, I got my phone here, you want to pay?
Right.
Honestly,
so at a farmer's market, that's one thing. But
my local farmer's market has a million of these. Everything you want a little bit of cheese, you want a little bit of pan raisin, you want whatever. You just tap your card on a tiny little terminal.
I love that. Yeah, I use my watch. I feel like it's magic. I feel like I'm actually not paying for anything. I'm just waving my hands.
What I like about using the watch is you get two gifts. One, you get to use the watch, and the other is the eye roll from the person that is manning the terminal. No, I mean, I'm serious. Every time I do it, I'm just waiting for the eye roll because they're just like, okay, yeah, exactly. And I'm just sitting there like, cheesing, I use the watch, right?
Yeah, all right.
Am I cool or
what?
Yeah.
Well, the good news is here in the States, and perhaps thanks to Square, you're seeing more and more of these waiters coming to the table and you get to pay with your card. It's still a minority of restaurants, but I'm
seeing more QR codes these days, like
a lot of QR codes.
Yeah, and I like that because it's just like, boom, okay, I take a picture, I leave.
Where's the QR code? Is it glued to the table?
It's on the receipt. It's just on the receipt. They bring.
I have seen that. Yeah,
it's great.
It's so nice. And it uses, for the people who are interested, it uses web clip technology. I think on Android and on iOS. So it installs a little tiny iOS app. So the experience is really native, at least with Toast. And it's
that's really interesting because Apple announced this whole idea of you don't have to have the app on your phone. It will load quickly load a stub that will do what you need to do. And I never saw anybody use it. So good. This is the first real use of this that I'm aware of.
It's really cool and really smooth. And if I see it in a restaurant, I use it every time.
Welcome to 2020 in England.
Next,
I know. Listen.
Next, you're going to talk about health insurance, and then I got to go.
Harper, of course, is an expert in payment systems. He sold his company to Braintree, which then became part of PayPal. Worked with both. Why is it we're so behind in the U.S.? Because we didn't even get chip and pin. We got chip and sign.
I think, technically the order was I sold it to PayPal and then lived inside of Braintree, but
okay, whatever.
But I think the reason is because we are a very big country physically, and it's hard to spread technology out easily. And then we also are just scared of cost. And I think the U.S. has a really bad not invented here problem, where we look at something that is happening elsewhere in the world and we're just like, well, I mean, they're British, and then we just ignore everything that they possibly could bring that is good.
Be good.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think their beer warm. They don't.
It's really interesting because this, and I'm sure it's rooted in American exceptionalism and all this other stuff. But without getting into that, you see it all over. Where for those of you who've been to like Shenzhen, like some of the stuff happening there is incredible.
Yeah, and the future is not evenly distributed. It's really interesting.
And I think the disappointing thing for a lot of Americans is the future is not distributed to the United States. And that's really
I think some of that's also because a lot of times it's because it was invented here. And when you have a lot of infrastructure, around it's why SMS was so slow here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just like it's like legacy, right? It's
legacy. Cell phones were invented here.
Yeah.
But we were way behind in things like SMS and cell phone payment systems over countries where they had implemented all at once.
But we were really ahead on CDMA.
Thank God.
That really helped us out. That
really helped us. Thank God.
Your only American exceptionalism is how hard your cell phone payment system sucks.
No, we have a lot, but that's a different podcast. There's a whole bunch that we excel in.
Hey, there is one. I'm going to do one more piece of good news. Montana has become the first state to close the law enforcement data broker loophole.
Ooh.
So we have never had comprehensive privacy legislation in the United States. We maybe never will because, for one thing, law enforcement really loves data brokers. It's a great way to get information without a wiretap, right? It just costs a couple of bucks. So
I think I saw that on The Wire, right?
That
was a documentary, right?
But that was 20 years ago, but it's the same today, right? In every state other than Montana, if police want to know where you've been, according to the EFF, they don't have to present evidence and go to a judge to get a warrant. They use something called a pen warrant or pen. I can't remember. A pen warrant, I think. They just go to a portal that the cell phone companies have set up, pay $1.50, or buy it from data brokers. All the location data apps on your phone. All that data is being collected, recording a location constantly, and just uploaded to data brokers. We know this. And there it is for sale in the open market. So Montana, with SB 282, has become the first state to close that loophole. In Montana, the government may not use money to get access to information about electronic communications, the contents of electronic communications, the contents of communications sent by tracking devices, digital information on electronic fund transfers, pseudonymous information, or sensitive data, which is defined in Montana as information about a person's private life, personal associations, religious affiliation, health status, citizen status, biometric data, and precise geolocation. You still can go to a judge and get a warrant, which is fine. That's fine. Make them
how it should work, at least.
That's how it's supposed to work. It's the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like I can safely pay for my hookers on PayPal.
In Montana only.
Right.
Don't leave the state.
Really bring it all back together, Will.
But so this is good news. Of course, what's Congress up to? Well, they just jammed, and we'll see if it goes through. I think it will. They just jammed a bit into the budget reconciliation bill that would prevent states from regulating AI at all for 10 years. And who knows, they might get that privacy thing in there as well. The problem is when you put it in the reconciliation bill, it's pretty hard to get it out.
It's kind of funny, though.
Beautiful bill, Leo.
It's a big, beautiful bill, getting bigger all the time.
Beautiful.
There's a
beautiful bill.
There was a couple, I don't know the way to say it, pundits, I suppose, who were talking about how unless it is such a discrete addendum that it could really affect future tech regulation as well.
Right. It might have an unintended consequence.
Because if they are saying you can't regulate or create legislation around these things, that also could include all of the kind of protect the children privacy movements that the Republicans try to push in their anti-encryption. It could like any attempt to regulate big tech, which, just the Copyright Office is talking about this stuff around copyright. Like any of this stuff might be within the scope of this kind of hastily added piece of law. And so it'll be really interesting to see how this goes. And the one thing that I have been thinking about a lot is the US is not very good at iterative lawmaking. And that is, I think, one of the weaknesses of our program as it compares to other countries who are very good at this. Japan, for instance, did a very good job of iteratively addressing cryptocurrency and continues to do so.
So they'd make a bill and then adjust it and go back and forth and improve it. We just make a law and then say, fine, we're done.
Well, we say, fine, we're done, and then we just have to all deal with the consequences of that forever while Will makes fun of us from across the pond, right?
We're still using the Aliens and Sedition Act from the 18th century, right?
Yeah, we are. And it's not to say that other countries
we is probably not the right word. The administration is.
It's not to say that there aren't old good laws or old bad laws. It's just that we don't have a tendency to say, whoops, the law we made 2 years ago didn't actually do a good job. Why don't we address it
250 years ago?
And so I find...
Good news. I've got a boatload of tea to sell you.
Well, I mean, we're getting sold it, that's for sure. But I do think that this is interesting. Like, I don't think
so. The side effect, the unintended consequence of that, AI law is that it is in its language. It prevents states from regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems. And that is a very broad term. Any computational process derived from machine learning, statistical modeling, data analytics, or artificial intelligence that uses a simplified output, including a score, classification, or recommendation to materially
that feels like credit scoring, right?
Oh, it's banning every content, according to Mike Masnick and TechDirt, who is very active in all of this, every content moderation system ever created.
Yeah.
It would preclude 99% of state think of the children's social media de-anonymization laws and 100% of the attempts to regulate social media under defective product theories of action. So good. Maybe they should pass that.
I don't think they're very good at governing, guys. I feel like
it's really bad.
It's not working out well for
anybody.
Yeah,
it's not just anybody. You know what? I hate to say it.
Thought of the children.
Democrats, it's just as bad because for different reasons they support these social media laws as well.
The COSA thing is incredibly stupid too, and there's so many people telling them that
Chuck Schumer is a sponsor of COSA.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's take a break. Okay. Yeah, well, that's the way it is. We are having some fun. We're going to wrap it up pretty soon here. I just want to let you all know. I know, Will, the pubs are closing soon, so we'll get you out of here quick. Will Harris, he's in London. Great to have you. Instagram's Will Harris, WILHARRIS. That unique and wonderful spelling.
1 L and 2 R's. That's what
you say. That's what you've been saying your whole damn life. You poor fella. That's okay. My real name is Leo, and I've been saying Leo as in mayo my whole life.
Well, do you want to know the reason was that when you're growing up and you're playing the Street Fighter 2 cabinets or the Outrun cabinets.
What WIL is perfect, isn't it?
You only ever get 3 letters to put your
I could write Leo. Yeah.
I had har or purr.
WIL was mine.
Har or purr.
Yeah, it wasn't none of good ones.
Har or purr. And forget Devendra Hardawar. You're never going to get that in there.
No, he had a good one. Dev. That's pretty dope.
Dev.
I just do Dev. Yeah.
Did you do Dev? Nice.
When I could play arcade games, yeah.
Nice. It sounds like a painful childhood tale there, but we won't delve into that. We're going to take a little break. More to come. This Week in Tech brought to you this week by Melissa, the trusted data quality expert. They've been doing it longer than we have, since 1985. Now, good news, if you use the Shopify App Store, which many I know of you do, my son does, Melissa's address validation app is now available for merchants in the Shopify App Store. Enhance your business fulfillment. Keep your customers happy with Melissa. It autofills. It's great. You get enhanced address correction, which means it will correct and standardize addresses in more than 240 countries and territories. And add missing components like the zip code or the postal code, as you Brits call it, ensures compliance with local formatting rules all over the world. Melissa's address engine is certified by leading postal authorities worldwide. And smart alerts will warn in real time. This is great. If there's a potential issue with a shipping address, and it actually will do that checkout. So customers can be told, hey, that's not going to work. They can update that information before it even gets into your system, before the order is processed. While businesses of any size benefit from Melissa, the data quality expertise Melissa offers goes far beyond things just like simple address verification. They do data cleansing, data validation, and that's really important if you think about it. Melissa is in so many areas. For healthcare, for instance, 2 to 4% of contact data in healthcare is outdated every month. If you've got millions of patient records and they're moving around, you need precision. Only Melissa can do that. It's also used, I love this, in healthcare to make sure the prescription matches the actual pills being delivered, matches the patient information. There's some places Melissa's used that are vital. It's life or death. Slight variations in addresses, misspelled names can cause havoc. Duplication, fragmentation errors, the risks of misidentification, lost records. Melissa's data enrichment services eliminate the gap. Whether you're a healthcare organization, a government, a fintech business, you build a more comprehensive view of every patient, every customer, every user, supporting continuity of care, timely follow-up. This also aids in predictive analytics, allowing providers to identify patterns in patient behavior or medical needs that can inform preventative care. These guys are data scientists. That's what's really cool about this. It's so far beyond addresses now. Data, of course, is always safe, compliant, and secure with Melissa. Their solutions and services are GDPR and CCPA compliant, ISO 27001 certified. They meet SOC 2, HIPAA high trust standards for information security management. Of course they do. Get started today. 1,000 records cleaned for free. Go to melissa.com/twit. melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support over the many years now of This Week in Tech. Thank you, Melissa. Let's see. Where do we go next? Oh, I was talking about Montana. There's another reason to go to Montana. Montana's a very interesting state. They have there's a bill for experimental medical treatments. You can go there to get access to treatments that are not FDA approved.
Oh, lucky day.
Great. My lucky day is here. Once it's signed by the governor, it will be the most expansive in the country, allowing access to drugs that haven't been fully tested. All you have to do to sell any drug or treatment in Montana is put it through phase 1 clinical trials. That's the generally small first in human studies, just to make sure it won't kill you. Doesn't show it's effective, just says it won't kill you. This is really, Montana's becoming a very interesting state. One of the groups pushing for this was longevity enthusiasts.
This is kind of the opposite of that AI law, where it's just like they're like, well, let's just make it as wide as possible.
Whatever you want to do.
I'm kind of for this.
Well, you have the choice, right? And I know it happens all the time that I've known people who were dying, frankly, and couldn't get experimental treatments because they weren't FDA approved.
Yep.
If they could go to Montana, if they had the money and they could go to Montana to get those, I think that's a good thing. And they couldn't. I mean, one person I'm thinking of passed away. It couldn't have been any worse.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
I think the issue is, how does it impact the other people within that community? Like, if someone does some experimental treatment and then they become, they then require services as little as we do have in the U.S. That is still something that is impactful, and so I would hope that we would be thinking through that. With that said, I'm all for it. Like, I think not just the longevity stuff, but like you were talking about, all the examples of early trials. But at the same time, I don't know if we need to have everyone being their own doctor. I kind of like my doctor telling me when I'm not supposed to take all the supplements.
Yeah, I agree. I like that
whatever.
Too. Yeah.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. My guess is that it will be signed into law.
Yeah. U.S. Army. Benito said, "What is getting in on the right to repair?" Apparently, the Army's buying stuff they couldn't fix. So now it's going to add right to repair provisions in all existing and future contracts with manufacturers so that you don't have to bring it back to the shop when your tank breaks down. You don't have to bring it back to the shop to get it fixed.
It's very convenient.
Yeah. You'd think that would have been always kind of part of the deal, but no, in fact, they've had the same right to repair issues that we normal people have. A 2019 report in the New York Times described how a maintenance marine in South Korea couldn't repair a generator because of the warranty. Even though he had the tools, he had the know-how, he could have fixed it. Engines at a U.S. military base in Okinawa were packed up and shipped back to contractors in the United States for repair, according to ProPublica, because the Navy's contract with General Dynamics and Lockheed Martin forced the military to fly contractors to the ship to make repairs on proprietary equipment.
You got to milk those government contracts for all they're worth.
Man.
Yeah,
put everything
100%,
in there.
100%.
Right to repair.
Well, it's
And
like when you buy the thing, but the actual money's in the service contract, right?
That's right. Well, that's the great American way. By the way, I don't know. Do you have HBO in the UK?
No, it doesn't exist. We have a million different bastardized versions of it that none of which
they would
make
buy the
even
shows
less
probably.
Sense
Yeah.
Than than HBO.
It's a tawdry tale. HBO got named HBO Max, which was launched in 2020. 3 years later, 2023, Warner Brothers Discovery took the HBO off to say it's just Max.
Max, the one to watch for HBO.
It's just Max. Now, in a press release, they say we're returning the HBO brand it's going to be called HBO Max again. Thank you, David Zaslav. Today, we're bringing back HBO, the brand that represents the highest quality in media to further accelerate that growth in the years ahead. Who pays these clowns?
Those people are still getting paid. Yeah.
I was gonna say, has one man ever been paid so much
For so little?
cock something up so massively?
And he didn't even say it's not TV, it's HBO. He didn't even say that.
He didn't even say that. How many years did they and millions did they spend building up that brand?
It doesn't matter. Zaslav came from Discovery. He came from that whole side of it. He has no loyalty to like the HBO thing. It's so very stupid. But we had a good day on the internet when this news hit.
It's probably pretty funny. Yeah, was it fun?
It's hilarious. Hilarious. Because this is also the company that, because they had multiple streaming services for a while. Remember, like they had HBO Go was their initial one because that was if you had a subscription.
Oh God, it was so
you could
awful.
do that online. But if you don't have a subscription, then you could go to HBO Now. And then HBO Max came because they kind of obliterated both those things. And HBO Now became just HBO before it died.
It was so crazy.
Yeah. They had no idea.
And there was also Cinemax. Everyone thought it was Cinemax.
Yep.
So confusing.
We called it Skinamax because they had the.
I was just gonna say the only reason I know Cinemax is because of everyone that I know called it Skinamax.
I mean, both HBO
stuff.
and Cinemax, they had like softcore porn at night. Everybody did. That's how it was during the 90s. Yeah.
You probably remember hearing this.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Apollo 13, Mike Lovell saying an oxygen tank has exploded on Apollo 13, crippling the command module. The man who saved Apollo 13 with duct tape just passed away, Ed Smiley. He was 95. He led a team of engineers that cobbled together an apparatus made of cardboard, plastic bags, and duct tape that saved the Apollo 13 crew. It's kind of an amazing story. Here he is holding his prototype. It's kind of, I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
it's just amazing. It looks like a hose but this was all stuff that was on Apollo 13 they could use to make something that would save them.
Sort of reminds me of the guy that does the advert, where he just slaps the duct tape on whatever sort of leaking.
TikTok
guy.
Yeah.
It's so good. I like how he just took this guy whose legacy is incredible and was like, yeah, it's like that TikTok.
It's not. He and 60 other engineers were given less than 2 days to invent a solution using materials already on board the spacecraft. If you saw the movie Apollo 13, you might remember this. There was a documentary, XIII, that came out a few years ago that actually featured Smiley. In the movie Apollo 13, a character inspired by Smiley dramatically dumps rubber tubes, garment bags, duct tape, and other materials under the table and says, "The people upstairs handed us this one. We got to come through." They did. They created a carbon dioxide scrubber from parts found aboard the Apollo 13 spacecraft and made it back home safe and sound. Smiley got a nod from the president at the time, Dick Nixon. Ed Smiley, dead at the age of 95.
Do we know why he was not in the movie directly? I'm always kind of astounded.
Should have been, huh?
Should have been just his name.
He was in the documentary, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice to give him some credit. He said in the XIII, the 13 documentary, if you're a Southern boy, if it moves and it's not supposed to, you use duct tape. Yep.
That really reminds me of the sort of flow chart that I once saw as a sort of, early engineering student, which was, does it move? Yes. Is it supposed to? No. Apply duct tape. Does it move? No. Is it supposed to? Yes. Apply WD-40.
That's it. That's all you need. It's all you need. What a fun show this has been. I am so glad to have you guys on. I'd love to get you all back together, reunite the team. Devendra, we always love having you on. Devendra is my designated hitter when I'm out of town. I'm leaving for a vacation in September, so we'll make sure to get in touch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
very cool.
we love having you run the show. Senior editor and Engadget, super smart. Good news. Doesn't have to review phones anymore. Can have fun.
Review a lot of laptops and video cards now, apparently, but that's where the fun is.
That's where the fun is.
Yeah.
You get. Is that a promotion? You've been kicked upstairs.
Just kind of. I think I'm the only person with like a dedicated gaming rig.
There you go. Man, I've done some of that stuff. I give you a lot of props. That's a really hard thing to do. It's
something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's great to see you, Devendra. Thank you also, Will Harris. Great to see you again. I hope you find work.
Well, can I give a quick plug to a
yes.
To a little bit of work that I'm involved in.
Yes.
If you are in London or if you're in the UK, go and hit up phantompeak.com. Phantompeak.com is fantastic. Is it
PEEK? No, it's PEAK. An open world immersive experience.
It is a Western steampunk styled bar immersive theatrical experience, and you can go along and you can use your smartphone to go and solve all sorts of mysteries along the way. And I'm
is Neil Patrick Harris there? That's cool.
He's there. He's loved it, and I am helping them do a little bit of work to add to the technology side of it.
I want to come to London just to go visit Phantom Peak.
Phantom Peak is fantastic. It's sort of an escape room crossed with
You go on trails or quests. You're tasked with helping the townsfolk. This sounds like that Blue game in real life.
Yeah. So that's what I'm spending my time doing at the moment. And anybody that's in London, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. I'll hook you up.
And there's booze too?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
What did you call it? A piss up? Can I have a piss up there?
We can organize a piss up in a brewery.
A beer driven piss up. That's what I want. Thank you, Will. It's great to see you. Harper Reed, you're the best, man. We gotta get more of you on our shows.
I'm in.
Because
I'm in.
Hey, look at what he does with his fingers. Just your knowledge of AI and your kind of reasonableness about it all and your enthusiasm is great, and I really appreciate that. You can find out more about Harper at his blog, harper.blog, and his company, 2389.ai. Do you have customers, or who's your target for this?
Oh, we're early.
It's an early stage.
We're early stage. We just got laptops. We're real early. Like I just got a laptop like a month ago. So
what
give us some time
laptops
here.
Does 2389 use?
Oh, we bought MacBook Pros with just a boatload of RAM.
Yeah.
Because we're running models locally, and having the ability to run those models locally is really incredible.
It's kind of amazing what Apple's done with its silicon.
It really is.
Yeah.
I have not yet installed Rosetta since the Apple Silicon was released, and it's every once in a while it's funny because all it does is show what companies are not updating their build chain.
By now, if you're not writing to the chip, you're crazy. What are you doing? The problem is Apple made Rosetta too good.
It's good. It's really good.
That's the problem.
Really good. Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of
good
impetus to rewrite your code, but because the Apple Silicon's amazing. I have an M3. I'm sitting in front of an M3 Max right now. And of course, I have the M4 Mini and the M4 iPad, but I'm going to wait because in 2 years, I'm not going to do the M5. I'm doing the M6. I think the big leap, I know, the big leap is going to be in 2 years. They're going to have OLED screens. They're going to have redesigned laptops. So when I start my startup, we're going to have M5s or maybe M6s. I don't know, something. Agents that conspire with you, not against you, at 2389.ai. How cool is that?
We're all about conspiracy.
Thanks to everybody who joined us this week. We really appreciate your watching and listening. We do stream the show live every Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. You don't have to watch live. I'm sorry, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. I only say that if you want to watch live and chat with us live as we're doing the show. We stream on 8 different platforms: TikTok, X.com, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, Kick. And if you're in the club, you can get behind the velvet rope and watch us in the Discord. Actually, I should give a little plug to the Club Twit Discord. That is a great place to hang. We just did Stacy's book club on Friday. On Monday, we're going to do the Microsoft Build keynote. Paul and Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell will join us for that keynote at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And I have to tell you that, unfortunately, thanks to Apple lawyers, we've decided no longer to stream our keynote coverage publicly because we've gotten too many takedowns. So we're going to be doing a lot of keynotes this week, and we will be doing them for club members only in the Club Twit Discord and on the Twit Plus feed after the fact. So Build is tomorrow, 9 a.m., Tuesday, 10 a.m., Google I.O. Yes, we're going to have a little hangout with Dick DeBartolo, the GizWiz, on Friday. Then we come back on June 9th for WWDC. So this is another reason to join the club. The keynotes now, the keynote coverage will only be in club just because we don't want to get taken off of YouTube. It's kind of a chilling effect of that. So if you're not a member of the club yet, it is only $7 a month, $84 a year. You get ad-free versions of the shows, of course. I'm not one of those people who wants to charge you money and then play ads to you. Ad-free versions of all the shows, no tracking, no ads, just the shows, just the content. Access to the Discord, the special events that go on in there. Lots of benefits. If you're not a member, please visit twit.tv/clubtwit. I guess the biggest benefit is you're keeping us alive because it's now 25% of our revenue. Without it, we would have to cancel shows and send people home. So we don't want to do that. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Thank you in advance. After the fact, you can, of course, get copies of this show with the ads built in if you're not a club member at our website, twit.tv. There's a YouTube channel for every one of the shows we do. And we do that, well, because YouTube apparently is where podcasts go to live. I don't know. I didn't even get into that story. There's a whole story about YouTube's charts and how they don't match Apple's charts or Spotify's charts. We'll probably talk about that on Tuesday. But we do, make it possible for you to watch on YouTube, mostly from our point of view, not because we think that's the place to be, but because it makes it very easy to share clips. So if you see something or you want to, turn a friend on to what we do, send them a little clip because everybody can see the YouTube. Best way to get the show is undoubtedly to subscribe in your favorite podcast player. That way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available. And if you do that, would you do us a favor and leave a review, a positive one, please? Leave us a 5-star review if you can, because that helps spread the word as well. Oh, I keep forgetting, we have a free newsletter if you want to keep up on what's going on future shows, especially for club members, because the newsletter also talks about club special events and so forth. It's free, easy to subscribe, no salesman will call, twit.tv/newsletter. There, I think I got it all in. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. 20 years we've been doing this. Now in our 21st year. For 20 years, I've been saying the same thing at the end of every show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Another Twit is in the can.
This is
Baba.
amazing.
Doing the Twit.